Good morning, delegates. We'll wait until 11:30 to start the committee. We're waiting for a few delegates to join.
Okay.
Okay, Chair.
Okay, Chair.
Yes, Chair.
Okay, Chair.
Good morning, delegates. I request you all to have your videos on. Okay, delegates, we're just going to have a brief session introducing the committee and also the roll call procedure. So today we are accompanied by a Revi. Myself, I'm Mukund. I'll be the chair for this committee. We are the Dev Rakesh. He'll be the vice chair. Our rapporteur Bharati Chanuchalam and our IP coordinator Ritika S. Kumar. So what we're going to do is roll call. I'll be calling out the country names, and you can either reply with either present or present or voting. When you choose present or voting, in the end of the committee, you will be voting on the final resolution. So it is important to know that whether your country has a stance of voting or not. Okay, then we can start. Arab Republic of Egypt.
Present.
Okay, Canada. Delegate of Canada. Are you present in the committee? Okay, move on to the next country. Central African Republic. Delegate of Central African Republic. Okay, we move on. Commonwealth of Australia. Delegate of Australia. Okay, Delegate of Ethiopia. Delegate of Ethiopia. Delegate of Germany.
Present and voting.
Delegate of Nigeria.
Present and voting.
Okay. Delegate of the French Republic. Delegate of France. Are you present in the committee? Okay, we move on. Delegate of Ivory Coast.
Present and voting.
Delegate of Japan.
Present and voting.
Thank you. Delegate of Denmark. Delegate of Denmark, are you present in the committee? Delegate of Norway. Delegate of Saudi Arabia.
Present.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of Spain.
Present and voting.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of Thailand. Delegate of Thailand, are you present in the committee?
Present.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of China.
Present and voting.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of Angola.
Present.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of Ghana.
Present.
Okay, thank you, Delegate. Republic of India.
Present and voting.
Thank you, Delegate. Republic of Indonesia.
Present and voting.
Thank you. Delegate of South Africa.
Present.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of the Republic of Congo.
Present and voting.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of Niger.
Present.
Delegate of Sudan. Delegate of Tunisia. Delegate of Tunisia, are you present in the committee?
Present and voting.
Delegate of Uganda.
Present.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of Yemen.
Present.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of Romania. Delegate of Romania, are you present in the committee? Delegate of the Russian Federation.
Present and voting.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of Swiss Confederation.
Present.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of US. Delegate of United States of America. Okay. Delegate of UK. Delegate of UK, are you present in the committee? Okay, we'll move on. Are there any other delegates that haven't been called out yet?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Delegate of Sierra Leone, you have been recognized?
Yes, present, sir.
Okay, present. Thank you, Delegate. Are there any other delegates? Okay, seeing none, we move on to the committee. Are there any motions on the floor? Delegates, this is to set the agenda. So, okay, Delegate of Russia, you have been recognized. You may speak.
Thank you, Chair. The Delegate of the Russian Federation motions to set the agenda to tackling racial and religious cleansing of ethnic minorities with emphasis on conflicts in West African states.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegates who wish to say yes for the motion, please raise hand. Use the raise hand feature. Delegate of Yemen, you may use the raise hand feature of Zoom. Okay, seeing majority, the motion passes. Now we move on to the GSL. Any delegates who wish to add their names to the GSL, please use the raise hand feature.
Delegate of Russia, you have been recognized. Delegate of Saudi Arabia, you have been recognized. Delegate of Egypt. Delegate of Tunisia. Delegate of Spain. Delegate of Indonesia. Delegate of Congo. We'll be accepting names later on.
Okay, delegates, you may put down your hands. Delegates, you will have 1 minute of speaking time. The first on the list is Russia, you have the floor for 1 minute.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition. Ethnic cleansing is currently not certified to be an international crime. However, genocide of ethnic minorities, which still prevails in West African states such as Nigeria, Burkina Faso, and so forth, are still viewed to be inhuman acts of ethnic cleansing, which cannot be ignored. The Russian Federation have actively supported African states who were suffering from inevitable conflicts between ethnic communities and for both political and regional reasons. One such prime example is when Russia deliberately offered aid to the Central African Republic in 2017, which includes country weapons, ammunition, and 175 military instructors. Moreover, the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov claimed that Mali had turned to a private military company from Russia to help fight jihadist groups. With utmost confidence, the Russian Federation is willing to offer aid and required support to these West African states who are in desperate need of drastic change within a short period of time. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Next, we have Delegate of Saudi Arabia.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition. Honorable Chair and fellow delegates. Delegate inaudible. The ousting of ethnic minorities has disturbed situational peace and stability of regions. It has also disrupted the rights of people. At a point of great turmoil, peace must be attained through detailed and meaningful agendas to catalyze change. As a founding member of the United Nations and a country who supports unity of people, it is the duty of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to identify the problem and propose substantial solutions to the cause. West Africa is predominantly consisted of people of Islamic faith, and as a nation of Islamic faith, it is mandatory for us to help our fellow people and nations. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has contributed over $65 billion to Islamic states from 1986 to 2006. The country had generously helped Palestinian and Afghani refugees. Many of our citizens were exploited in the past. We do not desire such misfortunes for other countries. To forge more viable and stable relations, it is necessary to provide help to the people who require it. We have identified different possible threats to the tribes and ethnic minorities of West Africa. The governments, in fact, of having to abide by human rights, have considerably declined to strengthen their tribal backgrounds. Wildfires of hatred spread across countries like the Republic of Sierra Leone and the Republic of
Delegate,
Ivory Coast.
you have 5 seconds left. Please wrap up your
Thank you
speech.
Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Next, we have the Delegate of Egypt.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition. Ethnic conflicts associated to religious and racial or ethnic cleansing are one of the factors that threats international peace and security for decades. Africa in itself has fought 30 wars in total, most of which are associated to conflicts within the country, which unfortunately displaced millions of people. The constant conflicts taking place in Africa, some of which are due to the fear of people getting brutally killed and massacred due to ethnic cleansing, is leading to unrest in Western African states. Ethnicities are also often preferred over another, which means that one ethnicity is richer than the other, which suffer, and the one who is not getting enough privileges are facing poverty and is not getting much privileges or opportunities. Therefore, the Arab Republic of Egypt believes that the ethnicities must be given importance and opportunities and recognition equally. Egypt believes that we must also ensure the weapons are not handed over to citizens, as they should be educated to maintain peace amongst one another. Peacekeeping forces must be deployed in regions so that the people don't go in conflicts, and instead should be settled through talks, preventing massacres and genocide. Along with international support and funding, and long-lasting peace could be achieved. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Next, we have the Delegate of Tunisia.
Thank you for the recognition. Every country in the world includes people belonging to national, ethnic, religious, or linguistic minorities who enrich the diversity of their society. However, too often minorities face diverse forms of discrimination and abuses, resulting in marginalization and exclusions. African countries today face greater challenges to peace and stability than ever before. Africa has not only the highest ethnic diversity, but also the highest incidence of civil war. The countries of sub-Saharan Africa, including Sierra Leone, Ivory Coast, Liberia, Nigeria, and the Republic of Congo, are a volatile mix of insecurity, instability, and poverty. The cleansing of ethnic minorities starts a sensation of fear in them that they might lose their rights and independence, which eventually causes them to revolt and start fighting for their own independent territories against ethnic majorities and the state, which leads to ethnic conflicts and civil war. Tunisia, the Republic of Tunisia, is determined to assist in the resolution of this crisis and is available to provide any help regarding this. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Next, we have the Delegate of Spain.
Thank you for the recognition. Honorable Chair and fellow delegates, over 350,000 people have died in the ethical conflicts that has plagued West Africa for the past 12 years. More than over 90% of these were children. Around 2.3 million people have been displaced. Agriculture production has been hit, and facilities including health centers and schools have been destroyed or become inaccessible. This is the state that most of Western Africa lives in. The Kingdom of Spain has already supported in numerous tactical operations such as Operation Barkhane and the United Nations Multidimensional Integrated Stabilization Mission in Mali, and has donated 100 million euros for the development of the Sahel. The Kingdom of Spain urges fellow countries who have not donated to do the same. Spain believes that our focus should be fighting against these conflicts. Spain proposes that we should give greater support to the efforts of the G5 Sahel, including supporting and funding the G5 Joint Task Force and other peacekeeping missions. This will be one more step towards safety and security in Western Africa.
Thank you, Delegate. Next, we have the Delegate of Indonesia.
Thank you for the recognition. Honorable Chair and fellow delegates. 275 terrified schoolgirls of the girls' secondary school in Chibok were abducted by armed members of Boko Haram. Over 100 schoolgirls are missing to this day. This 12-year-old conflict in northeast Nigeria has caused directly or indirectly the death of over 350,000 people, and there have been over 300,000 refugees, and 3 million people have been internally displaced because of this conflict. Therefore, Delegate of Indonesia believes that it is imperative that there should be solutions to suppress the terrorist organization and formulate measures to prevent such ethnic and religious conflicts in the future.
Thank you, Delegate. Next, we have the Delegate of Congo.
Thank you for the recognition. Honorable Chair and fellow delegates, refugees in the West African region has quadrupled in the past 2 years, with more than 2 million displaced in their own countries. Militants linked to the Islamic State have expanded their reach in the semi-arid region on the edge of the Sahara, stoking ethnic conflicts in countries like Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, and thereby forcing ethnic communities to flee from their homes. The Republic of Congo, as a country, has got its foreign policy pillared around the principles of good neighborhood and development diplomacy. It's because of this, Republic of Congo would like to propose to take immediate action from the part of the UN to clearly direct those states which are identified as a breeding grounds of these militant organizations to immediately refrain from supporting such inhumane activities in the region. Thank you, delegates.
Delegate, you have 10 seconds left. How would you like to yield your time?
I'm sorry.
Delegate, you can choose to yield your time to back to the chair. You can use it for comments. You can use it for questions. Which one would you prefer?
I would like to give it back to the chairs.
Okay, thank you, Delegate. Next we have. Okay, delegates wishing to add their names to the GSL, please.
Delegate of Ghana. Delegate of Swiss Confederation. Delegate of China. Delegate of Saudi. Delegate of India. That's all. Delegates, you may put your hand, you may lower your hands.
Delegate of Ghana, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition.
The Republic of Ghana can proudly say that our country has never had to fight a war on our own territory. The efficient security has prevented spillover effects from conflicts in the Ivory Coast, Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Mali. The domestic operations such as Operation Cowleg, Operation Vanguard, and Operation Calm Life has helped us to employ the techniques our troops use it abroad internally. The Ghanaian troops and systems have proved to be coherent during numerous times. During the Rwandan genocide, 5 Ghanaians were killed and many were injured while safeguarding Rwandan refugees. Thus, Ghanaian peacekeepers helped save over 30,000 lives. Even during the Dagbani conflict, our country was able to scale down the death toll by efficient regional conflict management. To conclude, we wish to address the issue of ethnic and religious conflicts breaking out in numerous parts of Western Africa and hope to come up with necessary resolutions that tackle the same. Thank you.
Delegate, you have 5 seconds left. How would you like to yield your time?
I'd like to keep it open for questions.
Are there any delegates wishing to question Delegate of Ghana's speech? Okay, Delegate of Russia, you have been recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Delegate, you have mentioned about regional ethnic conflict management. Could you elaborate on it more?
Delegate
Yes,
of Ghana,
absolutely.
please make the answer short, or you may choose to reply through chat.
Sorry, sir. Could you please repeat that? I couldn't guess.
Please keep the answer short, or you may choose to reply through chat. Through chat.
Okay,
Chat.
I choose to reply through chat.
Okay, thank you.
All right, next we have the Delegate of the Swiss Confederation.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition. Ola Joseph, a Nigerian-born speaker, once said, "Diversity is not about how we differ, it's about embracing one another's uniqueness." Race and ethnicity are ways used to describe human diversity. However, these are topics that have resulted in worldwide conflicts. The Swiss Confederation, although ethnically diverse, has been free of ethnic conflicts in recent years and is rightly seen as an outstanding example of the successful political integration of differing ethnic affinities. Switzerland advocates for a UN-sanctioned policy that helps countries to prevent ethnic conflicts by focusing on the power-sharing approach. The Swiss Confederation is looking forward to drafting resolutions with human rights as priority in any policy or situation. Thank you.
Delegate, you have 15 seconds left. How would you like to yield your time? Delegate, you are not audible. Could you please repeat that?
I would like to yield my time to the chair. Am I audible now?
Yes, we could hear you. Thank you, Delegate. Next, we have the Delegate of China.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition. Good morning, fellow delegates and respected Chair. Many of our allies in Africa are facing periods of unrest due to ethnic cleansing within their borders. The existing minorities in many parts of Western Africa are facing genocide and other methods of ethnic cleansing. China has been closely associated with the countries of West Africa. We have supported Western Africa economically by lending funds to their military and supporting their infrastructure projects. We have also been involved in helping the political processes in the region. One of the investments into their political well-being is the Chinese military troops we have supplied MINUSMA and MINUSCA with. But even with the active participation of many countries, a lasting solution has not been found to the problem. We are willing to supply any resources required to improve the state of these countries, and we will support the UN with their decisions as long as they agree with our foreign policy. We are looking forward to active discussion with the other countries to solve this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. You have 10 seconds left. How would you like to yield your time?
I would like to yield my time to the chair.
Okay, delegates, is there anyone who would like to comment on the Delegate of China's speech?
Chair, point of parliamentary inquiry.
Yes, Delegate.
I'm pretty sure that the Delegate of China wanted to yield the time to the chair. So,
Delegate, it's our discretion.
okay, Chair, apologies regarding that.
No worries. Next we have.
Yes, next we have, yes, Delegate?
The Delegate of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia would like to comment on the speech.
Yes, please go ahead.
I do, sorry, the Delegate of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia agrees with the Delegate of China and would like to look forward to forming a bond.
All right, Delegate. Next we have Delegate of Saudi Arabia.
Tigrayans face strong wrath from Ethiopian officials. Sierra Leone went through a vicious civil conflict between 1991 and 2002, which led to brutal killings of thousands of innocent Sierra Leoneans. People are divided by politicians to their advantage. Evidence emerging from investigations have named known local leaders and members of the APC as being responsible for inciting, planning, financing, mobilizing, and in some cases actively participating in violent terrorist attacks against the people of this country. People divide themselves on the basis of tribalism and ethnicity, and this creates mass xenophobia. The World Conference Against Racism, Xenophobia, and Related Intolerance, which begins in Durban on August 31st, should condemn the Ivorian leaders who have promoted intolerance based on ethnic and religious differences. Africans have often been the victims of racism, but they can also be its perpetrators. Saudi Arabia, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, would like to discuss the political discrimination against ethnic minorities in West Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Next, we have the Delegate of India.
Thank you for the recognition. More than 19 crore deaths worldwide on the name of religion. Every country at least has one massive incident on the basis of religion. Good morning to the Honorable Chair, Vice Chair, and my fellow delegates. Myself, the Delegate of India, is here to speak on how my country, India, treats its minorities and its role in the Western African conflict. As you know, India, like many other countries in the world, is a home to diverse set of religious, ethnic, and racial groups. On most of the days and in most of the places, members of these diverse groups enjoy their basic civil and political rights and freedom to pursue their beliefs. In India, we have many laws to protect religious, racial, and ethnic minorities. India has also helped the Western African conflict and also by giving them grants and so on. India is always willing to help the Western African state and has many ideas to help them out. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. You have 5 seconds left. How would you like to use your time?
Comments? I would like to use my time to comment.
All right, any delegates? Are there any comments?
The delegate of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia would like to.
Yes, Delegate, go ahead.
Okay. The delegate of Republic of India, could you elaborate more on your schemes?
Actually, Delegate, the Delegate of the Republic of India yielded her time to comments.
Comments.
You may go ahead if you have a comment.
Apologies for interrupting.
Also, delegates, please use the raise hand feature before talking. You haven't been recognized yet until we say so. So please do make sure you raise your hands first and then, yeah, thank you. Okay, are there any motions on the floor? Please use the raise hand feature.
My apologies for interrupting, but we can't hear you.
No, delegate, we were talking.
Okay. Sorry for interrupting.
Delegate of Saudi Arabia, you have been recognized. Please lower your hand. Delegate of Russia, you have been recognized. Delegate of Germany, as well as Delegate of Egypt. Thank you, delegates.
Delegate of Saudi Arabia, you may now speak.
The Delegate of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia proposes to suspend formal debate and move into a moderated caucus of a total of 10 minutes, with an individual speaker's time of 50 seconds to discuss about political discrimination against ethnic minorities in West Africa.
Delegates wishing to vote for the motion, please use the raise hand feature.
Could the delegate please repeat the topic?
Political discrimination against ethnic minorities in West Africa.
Thank you. Political discrimination.
Delegates wishing to vote against the motion, please use the raise hand feature now.
Can the delegate of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia please repeat that again?
Delegate of Saudi Arabia, I suggest you put the mod topic in the chat so that everyone can read it.
Yes, Chair.
Yeah.
Delegate of Russia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition. The delegate of the Russian Federation proposes to suspend formal debate and move into a moderated caucus of a total duration of 20 minutes with an individual speaker's time of 60 seconds to discuss about measures to successfully achieve disarmament, demobilization, reintegration in MINUSMA.
Delegates wishing to vote for the motion, please use the raise hand feature. Delegate of Russia, could you please put the mod topic in the chat?
Sure, Chair.
Thank you. Delegates voting against the motion.
So delegates voting against or for the motion?
Right now, against the motion.
Delegate of Spain, are you voting against? All right, thank you, delegate.
One more question. Against the mode topic set by the delegate of Russian Federation or by the delegate of Saudi Arabia?
The Russian Federation delegate. Okay, seeing a clear majority, the motion passes. Delegate of Russia, would you like to speak first or last?
Chair, I would like to go last.
Okay, all the delegates wishing to add their name to the SSL, please raise your hand. Delegates, we're expecting 20 delegates to speak. Right now, we only have 5. Please, delegates, try to speak for this. Okay, Delegate of Tunisia, you've been recognized. Delegate of South Africa. Delegate of Spain. Delegate of Japan. Delegate of Congo. Delegate of Germany. Delegate of Ghana. Are there any other delegates who wish to speak? Okay, if toward the SSL, any delegates, any delegates, you may approach any of the EB members to add their names to the SSL.
Please send a set to the EB if you wish to do so.
Delegate of Saudi Arabia, you have been recognized. Okay, Delegate of Tunisia, you have the floor for 1 minute. You may speak now.
Thank you for the recognition. Disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration lays the groundwork for safeguarding and sustaining the communities to which the individuals return after war, while building capacity for long-term peace, security, and development. Disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration support to mediation processes, and it comprises of 3 activities. That is, it supports in mediation by deploying experts and drafting provision of agreements. It analyzes by mapping of armed groups and identification of entry points. Then that is, the DDR plays an active role in all of this, but the DDR is yet to be completely achieved in the Mali conflict. Tunisia suggests that we keep high pressure on all the parties concerning Mali to follow basic principles of peacekeeping, including consent of the parties, impartiality, and non-use of force except for self-defense. We can also make sure that the parties implement the concerning structures for peacekeeping by placing UN officials there to manage them. The police troops of the government.
Delegate, your time is up. Please wrap up your speech.
Okay. I just want to mention one more point. The Mali can also make sure that the MINUSCA gets the maximum help it can by providing supplies and troops. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Next, we have the Delegate of South Africa.
Thank you, Chair. At the conference in August 2006, a number of scholars, practitioners, and observers of disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration programs in Africa came together at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center in Accra, Ghana, to discuss and compare assessments of DDI programs in Africa. In the context of post-conflict peace building, there have been very few such systematic comparative cross-case evaluations of DDI processes. In any case, a new assessment of DDR programs must build on the findings of previous initiatives and go beyond them to provide a more comprehensive and critical assessment of DDR processes and programs. At the same time, it should maintain a focus on how DDR can contribute to broader national recovery efforts and especially supporting the twin goals of sustainable peace and sustainable development. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Next, we have the Delegate of Spain.
Thank you for the recognition, Honorable Chair and fellow delegates. Disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration lays the groundwork for safeguarding and sustaining the communities to which these individuals return while building capacity for long-term peace, security, and development. Through a process of removing weapons from the hands of members of armed groups, taking these combatants out of the groups, and helping them to reintegrate as civilians into society, disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration, or DDR, seeks to support ex-combatants and those associated with armed groups so that they can become active participants in the peace process. The Kingdom of Spain believes that the best way to achieve this is to further fund and support various UN peacekeeping operations in Africa, such as MINUSCA, MONUSCO, MINUSMA, UNMISS, etc. Spain has supported these operations, namely MINUSMA, with provisions and urges fellow countries to do the same.
Thank you, Delegate. You have 10 seconds left. How will you use your time?
I would like to yield it to the chair.
Delegates will actually suspend the committee for now for lunch break. We'll resume the mode after the lunch break.
Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, 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 Chair.
Honorable Chair, may we leave?
Yes,
Yes,
Delegate.
Delegate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Sorry, but I didn't catch what you said right now.
Delegate, we are suspending for lunch break right now. The committee will resume by 1 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Chair, must we leave?
Yes, Delegate, you may leave and you may rejoin at 1 p.m.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair.
Delegate of Denmark, were you present during the roll call? Delegate of Denmark? Delegate of Denmark, are you present in committee? Delegates present in committee, please change your name to the name of your country. Delegate will be waiting for 5 minutes for the rest of the delegates to rejoin.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Delegates present in committee, please turn on your videos. IP, it's not compulsory. Delegate of Spain, the floor is now yours. We'll be resuming the moderated caucus now. Delegate of Spain, we'll be resuming the moderated caucus. The floor is now yours.
Sure. Thank you for the recognition. Honorable Chair and fellow delegates, disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration lays the groundwork for safeguarding and sustaining the communities to which these individuals return while building capacity for long-term peace, security, and development. Through a process of removing weapons from the hands of members of armed groups, taking these combatants out of their groups and helping them to reintegrate as civilians to society, disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration, or DDR for short, seeks to support ex-combatants and those associated with armed groups so that they become active participants in the peace process. The Kingdom of Spain believes that the best way to achieve this is to further fund and support various UN peacekeeping operations in Africa, such as MINUSCA, MONUSCO, MINUSMA, UNMISS, etc. Spain has supported these operations, namely MINUSMA, with provisions and urges fellow countries to do the same.
Delegate, you have 15 seconds left. How would you like to yield your time?
I would like to yield it to comment.
Delegates, are there any comments on the floor? Delegate of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, you may go ahead. Delegate, you're audible. Please, you're unmute. Muted.
Apologies for the inconvenience. The delegate of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia agrees with funding for this cause, as seen from MINUSCA and MINUSMA. So, thank you.
Delegate of the Republic of Sierra Leone.
Delegate of the Republic of Sierra Leone also agrees for this cause. Thank you.
All right, delegates, we'll move on to the next speaker. Delegate of Japan, the floor is yours.
Thank you for the recognition. DDR, demobilization, disarmament, and reintegration. If we as countries, as community, try to form solutions for the topic as a whole, it will be really hard for us to find beneficial and affordable solutions. However, if you break down each and every factor and aspect that needs to be solved and find affordable solutions for those, we'll be able to find beneficial, practical, and affordable solutions for those who need. One of those factors include the reintegration of ex-combatant child soldiers. Many of these child soldiers do not go through the official process to be brought back into society and gain a national identity of a citizen or a civilian. And many of these, and due to the lack of this, they also, and due to the lack of coming back in a society, they have trauma. And this trauma is nothing but an add-on to the trauma they faced during the war. And due to this, and as they grow on, without the mental support and health provided to them, it may lead to PTSD and many other mental issues. So for a measure for the reintegration of child soldiers, the Delegate of Japan would like to propose that more privileged countries such as Spain, Japan, and many other countries would provide funds to those to build healthcare campaigns and camps to help those in need and to provide the mental support and help to the future generation. Thank you.
Delegate of Germany, you've been recognized.
Point of information towards the Delegate of Japan. Do you have any other solutions other than asking other countries to fund?
I am not just, the Delegate of Japan is not asking other countries. The Delegate of Japan will also provide its own funds, including the other countries, to for building the healthcare campaigns and camps. Will that be fine, Delegate?
Not quite, Delegate. Beyond that, do you have any ideas for rehabilitation centers?
Delegate, for that we need funds, right?
Delegates come down. Delegates, you're not recognized, please. Lower your hand, delegate. We can't entertain informal debate.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chair.
Please reply through chat. Why baby?
I'm sorry, Chair.
We'll be moving on to the next speaker, which is the Delegate of the Congo.
Thank you for the recognition. Honorable Chair and fellow delegates, Republic of the Congo thinks procedures during the disarmament must be intact and well planned, as the combatants would never be ready to give up their arms all of a sudden. And during disarmament, the combatants must definitely be informed about the consequences if they fail to participate. And radio and other forms of media could play active role in revealing the testimonies of previous ex-combatants, which would encourage the present combatants to participate in disarmament. And during reintegration process, the government must ensure that combatants acquire civilian status and gain sustainable income and employment to prevent them from getting violent all over again. And Republic of the Congo thinks mainly we must target the combatant turned civilians, like the Ivory group in Nigeria, who were at times forced to be part of Boko Haram due to their poverty. Thank you, delegates.
Thank you, Delegate. Next, we have the Delegate of Germany.
Thank you for the recognition, Chair. DDR, disarmament, demobilization, reintegration. Effective monitoring and evaluation is all the more important for DDR activities, given the volatile environments in which peace operations are increasingly mandated to deploy. In the absence of a peace agreement or policy framework, clear monitoring and evaluation mechanisms serve to guide the DDR process even more so than in a traditional program. To structure flexibility, innovation, and adaptation into the process, programs should give greater attention to analysis of key issues, balking political will. Analysis should also go beyond formalized warring parties to include early assessments where needed, in essence, having flexibility to change course if things are not working. Thank you.
Delegate, you have 10 seconds left. How would you like to yield your time?
I would like to yield the comments.
Delegates, are there any delegates who have any comments on the Delegate of Germany's speech? Seeing none, we shall move on. Next, we have the Delegate of Ghana.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition. The Delegate of Republic of Ghana suggests the creation of a codified system of weapon control throughout Western Africa and raising the legal age for purchase of firearms. We also recommend the employment of undercover peacekeeping troops in deviously affected areas. Thank you.
Point of personal privilege. Can you please speak louder? I did not catch all of what you said.
There is a network issue. Am I audible now?
Yes.
Yeah, you're audible now.
Delegates, please remember to refer to yourselves in third person.
Pardon?
Please remember to refer to yourselves in third persons. Do not use personal pronouns.
The Delegate of Germany apologizes.
Delegate of Germany, you have 43 seconds left. How would you like to yield your time? I'm sorry, Delegate of Ghana.
I would like to give it back to the chair.
Are there any points of information on the floor, delegates? Delegate of Russia, you have been recognized.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition. Delegate, you have mentioned about organization which controls the gunpowder. So how do you expect to control all the illegally imported gunpowder? Because that is very common in the African countries. And most of the civilians are gaining this through illegal exports.
Delegate of Ghana, you may choose to respond through chat or respond right now.
Chair, may I speak? Delegate of Ghana.
Yes, please.
The Delegate of the Republic of Ghana will respond right now. The system that is followed in the Republic of Ghana is that it has to be informed in 3 levels for the import of firearms have to be informed in 3 levels, and there is adequate security in the import of firearms. So the Delegate of Republic of Ghana would suggest that this system be followed throughout the continent. Thank
you. Delegate of Japan, you have been recognized.
Delegate of Ghana, the Delegate of Japan thinks that the Delegate of Russian Federation has stated about the illegal export of gunpowder, and the Delegate of Ghana stated on the legal export and import. So, any comments on that?
I'm sorry, Delegate.
Yes, the Delegate of Japan.
I'm sorry, Delegate of Japan. Can you make your question clear?
Yes, sir.
Can you make your question clear, Delegate?
Sorry. So the Delegate of Russian Federation had asked about the illegal export of gunpowder and the illegal import of gunpowder. But the Delegate of Ghana had replied that there's a legal import, and not answering the Delegate of Russian Federation's question. So the Delegate of Japan would like more clarification on the answer.
Delegate of Japan, I believe that I clarified the fact that we have adequate systems for controlling the illegal import.
Delegate, you haven't been recognized yet.
I'm so.
1 second, Delegate. 1 second. Delegate of Ghana, you may reply now.
Thank you, Chair. The Delegate of Republic of Ghana has said that we have adequate measures to curb the import of illegal weapons when the delegate of the Republic of Ghana was speaking earlier. So we think that it was clarified.
Delegate Chair, the delegate of Japan would like to plead a follow-up.
Accepted.
Delegate of Ghana, you stated that you have measures to prevent illegal export of imported trade. Can you can the delegate kindly state on the strength of the police force there and what measures are actually being taken in Ghana to prevent the export and import of illegal gunpowder?
May I reply? May the delegate of Ghana reply, Chair?
Reply through chat. Delegate of Germany, you also had a question, right?
Actually, the delegate of Germany's questions were the same as the delegate of Japan's.
Okay, delegate, thank you. Delegate of Saudi, you're next.
Sorry for not following up, but it's a point of parliamentary inquiry.
Yes, delegate.
Are delegates allowed to question the rules of other countries?
Delegate, you can raise a point of order to question that.
The point of order?
Or wait.
The delegate point of order is to question any factual inaccuracy in a delegate speech.
Chair, I'm asking, sorry, the delegate of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is asking whether delegates are allowed to question the laws of a country.
You can't question a country's laws. By doing so, you're actually violating, the other country's sovereignty, as to speak.
Thank you, Chair. I also, the delegate of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has one more question.
Okay, ask.
We believe, the delegate of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia believes.
Is it a question to the chair or the delegate?
To the chair.
Okay.
It's not a question. It's actually a policy that the delegate has noticed.
Could the delegate actually send it through chat?
Sure, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
About the speech.
Yes, delegate, the floor is yours, so you may now speak if you wish to do so.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. As UN supports national institutions implementing disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration initiatives, it is necessary for it to be discussed and considered in the committee. By removing weapons from the hands of members of armed groups, removing combatants out of groups, and helping them to reintegrate as civilians into society, disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration seeks to support.
Excuse me, delegate. Sorry for interrupting. The delegate of Egypt has raised a point of personal privilege. Would you speak a bit more louder?
Sure. Is the delegate of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia audible?
Yes, delegate, now you're audible.
Thank you. As UN supports national institutions implementing disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration initiatives, it is necessary for it to be discussed and considered in the committee. This will further progress anti-genocidal motions against tribal groups by extremists throughout West Africa. Taking into account civil wars in Mali, the Rwanda genocidal war, and the Tigray crisis, it is obligatory to apply the same to the present crisis is seen from MINUSCA and MINUSMA. This can be done by climate change funding as the different fauna and flora of the country are affected by climate change, and funding for it helps tribes, help sacred species. That helps the sacred species of tribes remain as well as build strong ties with the governments. Religion is also...
Delegate, your time is up. Please wrap up your speech.
I have the delegate of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has one more point. Religion is something that bonds people, and using that as a tool can also help this movement. Thank you.
Point of personal privilege, can the delegate of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia please speak a little louder?
The delegate of the Republic of Yemen has the same point of privilege.
The delegate of Saudi Arabia has already spoken for future speeches. I will keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
We should move on to our last speaker in the SSL, Delegate of Russia. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration (DDR) has become an integral part of post-conflict peace consolidation, featuring prominently in the mandates of peacekeeping operation over the past 20 years. DDR activities are crucial components of both the initial stabilization of war-torn societies as well as their long-term development. Some of the measures that suggested are removing weapons from the hands of combatants, taking the combatants out of military structures, integrating combatants socially and economically into society. The delegate of the Russian Federation strongly believes such measures should be taken in MINUSMA for Mali, as he had worked successfully for the Ethnic Cleansing Act, which took place in South Sudan. Moreover, the delegate of the Russian Federation does not agree with the delegate of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia about climate change measures, as it's not correlated with ethnic cleansing. Thank you.
Delegate, you have 10 seconds left. How would you like to use your time?
I would like to yield it for comments.
Delegates, are there any comments on the floor? Delegate of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, you have been recognized.
The delegate of the Russian Federation, the delegate of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia understands the situation and accepts, would like to cooperate with you.
All right, are there any other comments? Seeing none, are there any other delegates wishing to add their names to the SSL?
Delegates, we can accommodate 11 more speakers to the caucus. So if any delegate wants to speak right now, you may. Okay, delegate of Ivory Coast, you have been recognized. Delegate of Egypt.
Chair.
Yes, delegate.
Could you please repeat the topic for the caucus?
Okay. Delegate of Russia, could you please post the topic? Yeah, it's already in the chat.
Okay, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, Delegate of Ivory Coast, your floor is now yours.
Thank you for the recognition, Chair. Following the agreement on 9 July 2005 by the Ivorian government to start a disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration program, the organization believes that the following measures should be implemented as a matter of urgency. The Republic of Ivory Coast is convinced that the international community, the government of the Republic of Ivory Coast, and the leaders of the forces no less should declare their long-term commitment for the same. These measures are essential to avoid that combatants return to combat or engage in criminal activities. To provide the measures include provision to provide all demobilized combatants with education, job creation, and medical support programs, including psychological counseling if necessary. Disabled or ill ex-combatants should receive additional benefits to rehabilitate them into their communities. To pay special attention to the needs of women and girls who were involved in the combat. Women and girls should be provided with alternatives to returning to their home communities and should be empowered to make independent decisions about their future marital and family status. Last but not least, to stay the course and insist the demobilization, reintegration, and rehabilitation program are adequately funded, implemented, and monitored for as many years as there is need for their contribution. The Delegate of Ivory Coast requests the financially sufficient countries support the organization which the Republic of Ivory Coast has formed. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. The Delegate of Egypt, the floor is now yours.
Thank you for the recognition. DDR, or disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration, is a very effective method to solve ethnic cleansing. Disarmament as in to get the weapons confiscated from the citizens, because when people have the weapons, the conflict gets more brutal and violent, which means more people get injured and more people get killed. Demobilization is in to call back the troops that are out there to fight, which means that you're planning to ensure peace without having to fight with weapons. And reintegration as in to educate the people, to make them understand the importance of not going into the conflict and instead talk out the problem. And it is also to make people understand the importance of peace that needs to be upheld through education and by understanding the diversity of different ethnicities instead of competing against one another that ends up in conflicts. Hence, the Arab Republic of Egypt believes that weapons must be used to its minimum to achieve peace. Egypt also believes in setting up rehabilitation centers and other centers.
Delegate, apologies, but you have exceeded your time limit. Please wrap up your speech.
Hence, deploy troops to help prevent future conflicts. Thank you.
Delegate of Japan.
Will it be allowed to question the delegate of? Will the delegates be allowed to question the delegate of Egypt?
Actually, the Delegate of Egypt used her entire 1 minute, so we'll be moving on to the next speaker. Delegate of South Africa, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. The persistence of conflicts in many places where peace building has been tried illustrates the overwhelming need for and significant difficulties in establishing conditions for sustainable peace. The primary objective of this article to explain the evolution of post-conflict peace building and it relates to DDR process and programs in Africa. This includes an explanation of the various phases of the DDR processes, the link between DDR and UN post-conflict peace building, the actors involved in DDR, those within the broader UN system, as well as those outside the UN, such as the European Union, and the practice of DDR in South Africa. The 7 cases which DDR has been tried to the African continent, Angola, Democratic Republic of Congo, and Syria. Thank you.
Delegate, you have 10 seconds left. How would you like to yield your time?
I would like to yield it to.
Are there any other delegates wishing to add their names to the SSL? If there are none, we will move on to the GSL. Okay, we will now move on to the GSL. Delegates wishing to add their names to the GSL, please use the raise hand feature. Delegate of Russian Federation, you have been recognized. Delegate of South Africa. Delegate of Yemen. Delegate of Nigeria. Delegate of Japan. Delegate of Tunisia. Delegate of Germany. Delegate of Angola. Delegate of Saudi Arabia. Delegate of Ivory Coast. And finally, and Delegate of Sierra Leone. And finally, Delegate of Niger. Thank you, delegates. You may now put your hands down. Okay, Delegate of Russia, you may now speak.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition. The delegate of the Russian Federation would like to focus on the gender impacts of small arms and light weapon proliferation. The proliferation of small arms and light weapons is recognized as an obstacle to development. In addition to facilitating criminal and armed violence, SALW are used to facilitate sexual and gender-based violence and to reinforce violent gendered social norms. Existing research demonstrates that notions of masculinity can often link to the possession of weapons. The Arms Trade Treaty reflects the gender impacts of SALW proliferation with the inclusion of a provision on the gender-based violence. Additionally, Target 16.4 of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals seeks to address the development challenge posted by the SALW by reducing illicit arms flows by 2030. The delegate of the Russian Federation contrarily can state that if all the countries in the United Nations Human Rights Council effectively take up measures to discuss the combat and reduce small arms and light weapons proliferation, we can eliminate ethnic cleansing in West African states. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Now we will have the Delegate of South Africa.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition. African countries today face greater challenges to peace, stability, and religious racism than ever before. The countries of sub-Saharan Africa, including Sierra Leone, Ivory Coast, Liberia, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, are a violent mix of insecurity, instability, corrupt political institutions, and poverty. Alarmingly, most of these countries lack the political will to maintain previous peace agreements and thus have fallen prey to continuous armed ethnic conflict. South Africa and Egypt are among the most obstructive delegations on the HRC, although there is pressure on the African states to confirm the group line, which has often been obstructive for the international efforts to promote the human rights. There have been deviations from the Africans group conservative line. Thank you.
Delegate, you have 20 seconds left. How would you like to use your time?
I would like to yield it to the chair.
Delegate of Yemen, the floor is now yours.
Thank you for the recognition. Honorable Chair Board and distinguished delegates of the House, I am sure you would all agree that religion and ethnicity have been major causes of domestic conflict. Most of the states in Western Africa have seen civil wars as well as ethnic and religious clashes, including organized ethnic cleansing. Such racial and religious issues indeed present a pressing dilemma. After all, issues related to racial and religious discrimination have also been present in the Republic of Yemen. The Houthis controlled approximately 1/3 of Yemeni territory and nearly 80% of the population. They followed a strict religious regimen and increasingly discriminated, those not adhering to their practices, particularly the religious minorities. Our Islamic religion calls for brotherhood, equality, justice, and love. It prohibits such tyranny of humans on other humans. This is why the Republic of Yemen gives care to the salient issue and highly recommends the problem to be discussed during the debate and the necessary actions to be made that will resolve the issue. Thank you, Honorable Chair and the delegates of the House.
Delegate, you have 10 seconds left. How would you like to use your time?
Thank you. The delegate of the Republic of Yemen yields the time back to the Honorable Chair.
All right, Delegate. Delegate of Nigeria, the floor is now yours.
Thanks for the recognition, Honorable Chair. This is the Delegate of Nigeria, and the ethnic militias formed on racial grounds. The crimes ranging from kidnapping and imprisonment to abuse and murder committed against innocents on purely religious and ethnic grounds, and the civil unrest caused by riots and demonstrations for what the delegate and the Federal Republic of Nigeria believes is a false cause, that one ethnicity, religion, or race is superior to other, are only detrimental to not just Nigeria but the world as a whole. This is where the delegate and the Federal Republic of Nigeria would like to collaborate with the other member nations of the UN to come to solutions against for combating extremist groups such as dearmament, demobilization, and yeah, I would like to end my speech.
All right, Delegate. Next, we have the Delegate of Japan.
Thank you for the recognition. As the Delegate of Japan, the Delegate of Japan would like to state that Japan was once considered a homogeneous society, and there were high levels of racism in Japan. Thus, the government of Japan had taken a lot of actions and established policies and acts against this. Some of these were unilateral, and the entire responsibility for implementing these acts were taken up by the government, and some of these were taken by the help of the United Nations. One of the main issues that was present in Japan included the hate crimes and speeches against the cultural minorities in Japan. Due to this, this was found due to the Ministry of Justice, which is the MOJ in Japan, had found that there were at least 1,152 hate crimes and speeches in Japan for a year and a half, ending in September 2015. To take an action against this, Japan had they brought an act. They had brought an anti-discrimination speech act to help those who have been affected by these hate crimes and speeches. The main ones included many the Korean population in Japan.
Delegate, you're exceeding your time. Please wrap up your speech soon.
So the Delegate of Japan would like to state that this act had many issues in Japan, and thus Japan would like to treat on these issues and make more better solutions to be implemented in Western African states. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Are there any motions on the floor?
I'm sorry, but I had given my name in the SSL. In the GSL speakers list.
Yes, Delegate, we will continue the GSL after the. If we see any motions, we will go on to the motions.
Okay.
Delegate of Egypt, you've been recognized. Delegate of Egypt, you may speak.
Thank you, Chair. The Delegate of Egypt would like to propose a moderated caucus on the topic to discuss possible solutions for eradicating ethnic discrimination and conflicts associated to it. The total time being 10 minutes and 1 minute per speaker.
Okay, thank you, Delegate. Delegates wishing to vote for the motion, please use the raise hand feature.
Could you repeat the topic again once more?
Delegate, I suggest you put it in the chat.
Yes, Chair, I'll put it in the chat.
Thank you. Yeah, delegates wishing to vote for the motion, please use the raise hand feature right now.
Delegates voting against the motion, please raise your hands. All right, Delegate, that motion clearly passes. Delegate of Egypt, would you like to speak first or last?
I would like the Delegate of Egypt would like to go last.
All right, Delegate.
Delegates wishing to add their names to the SSL, please raise your hands. As I call out your name, please lower your hand. Republic of Yemen.
Honorable Chair, that was a mistake. I meant to lower my hand. Sorry,
Okay,
Honorable.
thank you. Okay, Delegate of Tunisia. Delegate of Angola. Delegate of South Africa. Delegate of Germany. Delegate of Spain. Delegate of India. Delegate of Congo. Delegate of Ivory Coast. Republic of Congo, have you've been already recognized?
Oh, sorry, Chair. I'm sorry.
Delegate of Swiss Confederation. Yeah, that's it. Delegate of Japan and Saudi Arabia, please lower your hand. Delegate of Tunisia, you now have the floor for 1 minute.
Thank you for recognition. The UN system and its specialized agencies, through various conventions and declarations, prohibited discrimination and has addressed this issue and proposed solution to the problem. However, despite these efforts, many individuals and groups belonging to the minority continue to experience various forms of discrimination, especially in countries with a dominant majority or a history of colonialism and occupation. Studies have shown that when patches of ethnic groups are very large, conflicts do not occur as they do not have much connection with other groups. When the patches are small also, as in the size of a small neighborhood or so, there will be no conflicts. If they're mixed also, they know each other and they tend to live harmoniously. But groups that are in the middle range is the place where major conflicts occur due to the matter of power and resources. Forming boundaries and separating conflicting groups would be disastrous, especially without a subnational boundary. Example, boundary between Pakistan and India, the separation of Pakistan and India, which left the site of Kashmir, which is the site of violence right now. So
again, you're exceeding your time limit. Please wrap up your speech.
Okay. I just want to mention one more point that the natural tendency to self-aggregate can be leveraged for peace if the communities are given proper borders and self-governance over their own neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you, delegates. Next, we have the delegate of Angola.
Honorable Chair and fellow delegates, racial and ethnic discrimination occur on a daily basis, hindering progress for millions of people around the world. From denying individuals the basic principles of equality and non-discrimination to fueling ethnic hatred that may lead to genocide, racism, and intolerance that destroys life in communities. The struggle against racism is a matter of priority for the international community and should be the heart of work for the human rights. The many conflicts associated would be ethnic wars, loss of trust in civil figures and the constitution, inconsistencies in society, hindering development, and most importantly, it questions communal peace. The solution should include declaring ethnic discrimination punishable under legislative jurisdiction. More importantly, we should ensure that the court and the civil figures are capable of maintaining and protecting the laws issued to fight discrimination. Secondly, we need organizations and government actions to proclaim the value of the ethnically discriminated groups concerned, and we should bring forward more youth of their region for activities regarding this. Also, the civil bodies should be under constant checking to note whether the court or officers under the government have been partial to a particular community, citing ethnic differences. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. Delegate of South Africa, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. In order to understand the nature of the right to freedom of thought, concise, and religion, and of discrimination in respect of this right, one cannot do better than it takes as a basis of Charter of the United Nations and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The former affirms that one of the purposes of the United Nations is to promote and encourage respect for all human rights and for fundamental freedoms for all without discrimination as to race, gender, language, or religion. The latter established a common standard of achievement for all peoples and all nations. The relevant provisions of the proposed convention on civil and political rights are based on those of declaration and represent an attempt to elaborate the latter and to provide guidance to states which become parties to this instrument. Thank you.
Delegate, you have 30 seconds left. How would you like to yield your time?
I would like to yield it to the comments.
Are there any comments on the floor? Seeing none, we shall move on to the next speaker, Delegate of Germany. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition. Ethnic geography is the key property for predicting and explaining ethnic violence. Subnational boundaries aligned with national communities can reduce ethnic tensions and prevent violence. When patches of ethnic groups are above a certain size, ethnic violence does not occur. When patches are below a certain size, violence does not occur either. These thresholds are approximately above 60 kilometers and below 20 kilometers. Switzerland is an example of a state with well-placed boundaries. While Switzerland has a reputation as a peaceful country, it has a diverse population of Catholics and Protestants and French, German, and Italian speakers. In other places, these can be in conflict, yet little violence happens. Switzerland's multidimensional subpopulations, combining both languages and religions, are separated by both political boundaries in the form of cantons that are part of a federal system of governance and national geographical factors. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Next, we'll move on to the Delegate of Spain.
Thank you for the recognition. Honorable Chair and fellow delegates, religious cleansing of ethnic minorities, or ethnic cleansing for short, is the attempt to create racially homogeneous geographic areas through forcible displacement of people belonging to a particular ethnic group. This sometimes involves the destruction of monuments, cemeteries, and houses of worship. The Kingdom of Spain is against the religious cleansing of ethnic minorities in the conflicts in West African states. It has greatly supported the crisis in the Sahel region and is committed to peace, stability, and development in West Africa in particular. As far as Africa is concerned, Spain's national interest lies largely in seeing that the demographic and economic forces that will transform the continent in the coming decades will turn it into a space for inclusive and sustainable growth, peace, security, political stability, and respect for human rights and the environment. This is particularly important in sub-Saharan Africa. The Kingdom of Spain proposes to achieve this by working to strengthen African participation in international initiatives, particularly those promoted in the fight against ethnic conflicts, promote the role of regional and sub-regional African organizations in conflict prevention, and to support the strengthening of African peace as a whole. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of India, the floor is now yours.
Thank you for recognition. Possible solutions for eradicating ethnic discrimination and conflicts are as follows. There can be laws for ethnics that can protect them from any attack or discrimination. There should be a strong security which should be provided for the ethnic groups who are under threat. Article 6, Resolution 36/55, Declaration of Elimination of all forms of intolerance and of discrimination based on religion or belief, which was put by the General Assembly. UN's Declaration on Rights of Person belonging to national or ethnic, religious, and linguistic minorities, background channels for peaceful negotiations between the conflicting communities. Thank you.
Delegate, you have 18 seconds left. How would you like to use your time?
I would yield it to the chair.
Delegates, are there any POIs or point of information on the floor? Delegate of the Russian Federation, you have been recognized.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition. Delegate of the Republic of India, you have mentioned for your last point about creating laws, negotiation between states where ethnic cleansing is going on, but the delegate of the Russian Federation's concern is how do you intend to solve ethnic cleansing within the states?
Delegate of Russia.
Yes, Delegate, you may reply.
Could I answer to the question of
Yes, Delegate, you may.
Not all the ethnic groups in Western Africa are fighting against each other. Who are not fighting against each other can form negotiations and they can peacefully reduce the conflict that's happening in Western Africa.
Chair, may I ask for a follow-up?
Granted.
Thank you, Chair. Delegate, I would like to correct one point which you have stated. You have stated that not all ethnic groups are going against each other within the West African state. Actually, that is what is going on, especially in Mali. It initially started within the ethnic groups and then it grew into a multi-state conflict. So how do you plan to solve it? Because you've heavily stressed about imposing laws, but it doesn't really specify anything.
Could the delegate of Russia please repeat the question you asked?
Delegate of Russia, please reply through chat.
Okay.
Send the question to us as well. And Delegate of India, please send us the answer as well. Delegate of Japan, you had raised your hand.
Yes, Chair. Can the Delegate of Japan proceed with the point of information?
Sorry, Delegate.
Okay.
Delegate of Congo, the floor is now yours.
Thank you for the recognition. Honorable Chair and fellow delegates, Congo thinks a proper survey by a neutralized agency recruited by the United Nations in conflict-affected regions would be beneficial to understand the present demographical data with respect to the ethnic communities of the region. And the survey results must be analyzed to understand the reasons or validity of the reasons getting disclosed for the result of an increase or decrease in population of ethnic groups and the true minority and majority of the conflict affected regions. And UN shall direct its member countries most affected by such ethnic cleansing conflicts to ensure that such communities have a proportionate representation in the administration as well as the government. This shall be based on a validated and reliable data, as I mentioned, as the delegate mentioned, Delegate of the Republic of Congo mentioned. And steps may be taken to give full freedom for international media to report on the incidents at the ground level with full access to the representatives of such groups. UN may also form a team of media representatives who may conduct frequent interviews with the affected as well as all those who are involved in such activities and come up with regular articles to make the world know the facts. These shall be authentic reports based on—
Delegate, you are exceeding the time limit. Please wrap up your speech soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. We will be moving on to the next speaker, the Delegate of the Ivory Coast.
Thank you, Jay, for the recognition. As a country that is a victim of ethnic prejudices and civil wars, the Republic of Ivory Coast has started to make valiant efforts to break down these barriers. Primarily, these strategies should examine the similarities and differences between the racial and ethnic groups, and the policies should deal with the behavior of all these groups so that the sentiments are not hurt. The strategies participation of individuals who reflect the racial and ethnic linguistic diversity so that the problems are accurately mentioned. The strategies should involve educating children at an early age about universal brotherhood and unity among themselves so that the following generation is not affected by the prejudice. Other practical measures include establishing a formal feedback system across all program areas, such as satisfaction surveys for the masses to express their views directly and with ease. Another step toward conflict resolution could be to build numerous regional organizations which would take care of these conflicts on a regional basis and solve them then and there. There needs to be a focus on using identified evidence and theories of change instead of traditional ways. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of the Swiss Federation, the floor is now yours.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition. Switzerland advocates for a UN-sanctioned policy that helps countries to prevent ethnic conflicts by focusing on the power-sharing approach. The power-sharing approach is the most widespread basis for solutions proposed by scholars studying current ethnic conflicts. Power-sharing or consensus democracy is not unique to Switzerland. Variants of it can also be found in countries as different as Belgium, the Netherlands, and India. The goal is to let all important political forces participate in governmental politics and to share the political responsibility with all these forces. Secondly, political behavior within this grand coalition is geared towards permanent negotiation and compromise. It is likely then that once the cognitive setting of the group turns towards toleration and cherishing non-primordial bonds, nations and states will rise. Thank you.
Delegate, you have 10 seconds left. How would you like to yield your time?
I would like to yield it for comments.
Delegates, are there any comments on the floor?
Delegate of Russia, you have been recognized.
Thank you, Chair. The delegate of the Russian Federation does agree with the delegate of the Swiss Confederation and is looking forward towards working with this delegate. Thank you.
Delegate of Spain.
The Delegate of Spain also agrees with the solution that the Delegate of the Swiss Confederation has proposed and also looks forward to working.
Republic of the Congo, you have been recognized.
Delegate of the Republic of the Congo agrees with Delegate of Swiss Confederation and thinks it would be effective in solving some of the issues. Thank you.
All right, delegates, now we'll be moving on to our last speaker in the SSL. Delegate of Egypt, the floor is now yours.
Chair, I'm facing some internet issues and it's lagging for me, so am I allowed to keep my camera off?
Yes, Delegate, you may.
Thank you for the recognition. Ethnic conflicts lead to brutal killing, genocide, and displacement of so many people. This basically means that these groups of people don't have the freedom for religion, speech, health, education, etc. In order to ensure the eradication of ethnic discrimination, the government must recognize and should give each and every ethnicity in the region an equal opportunity to express their problems and issues, and the government must take the initiative to equally look into the issues and figure out solutions. Most of the conflicts happen between ethnicities due to their competition over land and other resources. Therefore, if given in equal amounts to all the different groups, and then there is no issue in one ethnicity being richer and privileged than the other, hence the ethnicities can peacefully coexist. Through reintegration and educating the people will learn to share the resources and diversity each ethnicity has and the need to protect them all rather than competing and having a dominant ethnicity. With the support of international organizations like UN and funding provided by privileged and more economically rich countries, the Delegate of Egypt hopes to achieve peace and the eradication of ethnic cleansing and conflicts related to it. Thank you.
Delegate of Germany, is it a POI? Delegate of, is it a POI? Is it a point of information?
Yes, Chair.
Okay. Delegate of Saudi Arabia, is it a POI?
No, Chair.
What is it then?
The delegate would like to speak for the motion. The delegates had already raised their hand.
Delegate, we only had 10 minutes of speaker's time.
Sorry for the misunderstanding.
It's okay, Delegate. Delegate of Russia.
It's for points of information, Chair.
Okay, Delegate of Germany and Germany, you may ask your question.
The delegate of Germany would like to ask a question towards the other delegate. What do you plan on using? What does the delegate of Egypt plan on using the funding for? Like, what exactly does Egypt like to do with that?
Am I allowed to reply?
Yes, Delegate.
The funding can be used for setting up shelters for those who are already displaced and for also providing the ones in the shelters with resources like food, medicine for those who were injured during the conflict, and also for setting up rehabilitation centers for those who got affected and traumatized by the conflict that had taken place. That would be the. Thank you.
Delegate of Russia, you may now ask.
Thank you, Chair. Delegate of Egypt, you have mentioned about the privileged countries to offer funds. So could you name some of the countries which are under your privileged list?
Chair.
You may answer through chat, and delegates, we are not taking any more questions. We have to, we need a break, and there's a 15-minute break coming up. So we'll resume the meeting by 2:30.
Sure, Chair.
Thank you, Andy.
Yes, Chair.
Okay. You don't have to necessarily leave the meeting. You may stay here. You may mute and stop your video. You may walk around. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Videos on. Okay, we'll be continuing with the GSL. Next, we have the Delegate of Tunisia to speak. Delegate of Tunisia, you have the floor now.
Sorry for the delay. Thank you for recognition. I wish to continue the discussion started by the delegate of the Russian Federation to combat small arms and light weapons proliferation. The use and misuse of small arms and light weapons are estimated to result in over 500,000 deaths per year and countless injuries. For example, one often cited statistic indicates that 90% of conflicts since 1990, SLW has been the only weapons used in fighting and have contributed to between 30 to 90% of civilian deaths in those conflicts. It is thus of utmost importance to implement countermeasures. The point about these arms is that they are very small and they circulate easily because they are easy to transport or hide. Therefore, it is not a question of regulating arms in general, but only a specific category of them. That is, those that are liable to fuel wars or acts of banditry. Some of the suggestions that the Tunisia would like to propose are: the state should be encouraged to collect and destroy all surplus weapons by posting officials or policemen in the main trading routes. A partnership should be made with a major and large...
You're exceeding your time. Please wrap up your speech.
Yes, 1 minute. The last point I would want to mention is that a partnership should be made with the major and large-scale suppliers of these weapons so that they have a way to monitor them. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Next, we have the Delegate of Germany.
Pardon.
Delegate of Germany, you may now speak.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition. In 2001, countries adopted the Program of Action to Prevent, Combat, and Eradicate the Illicit Trade in Small Arms and Light Weapons in all its aspects. In the instrument, governments agreed to provide national small arms regulation to strengthen stockpile management, to ensure that weapons are properly and reliably marked, to improve cooperation and weapons tracing, and to engage in regional international cooperation and assistance. Within the POA framework, the General Assembly adopted the International Tracing Instrument in 2005, a global instrument for cooperation in weapons tracing. Improving weapons tracing is now part of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The global framework of treaties and instruments also includes the Firearms Protocol and the Arms Trade Treaty. In addition, there are regional instruments and regional roadmaps to control and regulate small arms and light weapons. Thank you.
Delegate, you have 10 seconds left. How would you like to yield your time?
I yield my time to the chair.
Are there any POIs on the floor? Seeing none, we shall move on to the next speaker. Delegate of Angola, the floor is yours.
Honorable Chair and fellow delegates, Angola is still one of the most heavily mined countries in the world despite decades of work to address this problem. A total of 1,171 mined areas are distributed or at least 88 million meters square. As a result, Angola has one of the highest casualty rates of any landmine affected country, and landmines remain one of the greatest obstacles to rural development and normalization of life since the Civil War. The landmines are mostly found in the rural areas, and this often sparks off and escalates ethnic wars due to the negligence issued to the casualties of landmines, which usually kills the fleeing people of a particular tribal community. This can be seen in the when the landmines killed the fleeing Muslims of the Rohingya tribe in Burma. And international funding of landmine clearance has fallen by 80% from 2005 to 2017. And without consistent funding, Angola will struggle to meet its target by clearing all landmines by the Anti-Personal Mine Ban Convention deadline of 2025. And I request all the world members, all the representatives of the world nations to not take this problem less lightly, because this is not a problem that affects not only Angola, but the entire South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. The Delegate of Saudi Arabia, the floor is now yours.
Inspired by the motion passed by the Delegate of Egypt, the Delegate would like to speak further. Bringing awareness to the people is extremely important in this mission. Promotion of products produced by tribal minorities should aid the popularity and significance of tribes. Funding for camps for awareness of need for cultural diversity and promotion of national peace for upholding the status of the country and to prevent further genocides. Also, helping the minorities by providing basic amenities like clean water and food can be done to provide relief to the victims. Thank you.
Delegate, you have 30 seconds left. How would you like to yield your time?
Chair, the Delegate of the Republic of Yemen has raised a point of personal privilege.
Delegate, please keep in mind that you do have to speak a bit louder. A lot of delegates are mentioning that point.
Yes, Chair. Noted.
Thank you.
I would like to yield to comments. Sorry, the delegate would like to yield to comments.
Are there any delegates wishing to comment on the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia's speech? Okay, Delegate of Japan, you've been recognized.
Delegate of Japan feels that the Delegate of agrees with the statements provided by Delegate of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, but is not satisfied with the lack of reasons and the lack of reasons on how it can be implemented. Yes, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Delegate. Delegate of Russia.
Thank you, Chair. May I state my comment?
Yes, you may.
Yeah, the delegate of the Russian Federation does agree with the delegate of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. However, I would personally like to work along with the delegate of Saudi Arabia on the funds, because it's not reason enough. Thank you.
Delegate. Are there any other delegates wishing to comment? Okay, seeing none, we move on to the next speaker.
Delegate of the Ivory Coast, the floor is now yours.
So can you please give me an idea of the topic again?
Delegate, it's the GSL. You may talk about any point that you feel like is relevant.
Excuse me?
Delegate, this is the GSL, general speakers list. There is no specific topic that you have to keep in mind.
Thank you for the recognition, Honorable Chair. As a region with more than 60 ethnic tribes, known for ethnic declining economy and civil wars, the Republic of Ivory Coast has seen a significant decrease in violence since the last crisis. Still, tensions may resurface during the future elections since the root causes of the conflict have not been fully addressed. The survivors are still traumatized, and civilians were detained after being stopped and asked for their identification. They were dragged out of their homes, their workplaces, and while participating in peaceful demonstrations. And scores of civilians who were uninvolved in politics were captured on the basis of their ethnicity, religion, and even perceived nationality. The previous international actions include the United Nations Cooperation in Cote d'Ivoire, or the UNHRC, which was a peacekeeping mission in the Republic of Ivory Coast. Also, the IRC have helped in taking up efforts for the survivors. The government policy includes housing needs, and it has opened counter-terrorism academy in partnership with France to curb the rising rebellion. While the situation in Ivory Coast has improved in the recent years, many people still suffer from the consequences of 10 years of war. Economic inequality continues to rise while access to basic social and financial services remain difficult. The possible solutions may include implementing an enhanced monitoring and evaluating system.
Delegate, you are exceeding the time limit. Please wrap up your speech.
Another step towards conflict resolution could be building regional organizations to take care of these conflicts on a regional basis. Thank you.
Okay, Delegate of Sierra Leone, you're next. Delegate of Sierra Leone. Are you present in the committee? Wow. Delegate of Sierra Leone, are you present in the committee?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's your chance to speak. You have the floor for 1 minute now.
Yes, sir. I'm going to talk about the Boko Haram. Since 2009, Boko Haram has been committing widespread human rights abuses, and it started in northeastern Nigeria, and through 2013 they started attacks in Nigeria, and they continued from bordering states of Nigeria, namely Cameroon, Niger, and Chad. The conclusion of a cooperation agreement between Cameroon and Chad and between Nigeria and Chad led to a joint military operations against Boko Haram, removing it from the much of the territory it had controlled. And in March 2015, I believe, a regional coordination by the African Union led to creation of the multinational joint task force to fight Boko Haram. It involved troops from Benin, Cameroon, Chad, Niger, and of course Nigeria. So I propose that we should build more organizations and security forces, etc., to fight against Boko Haram. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Delegate. Next, we have the Delegate of Niger.
Delegate of Niger, are you present in the committee?
Yes, yes.
Okay. It's your. Okay, you may
Thank
speak
you,
for 1
Honorable
minute.
Chair. Ethnic conflict is particularly in states where ethnic group lacks sufficient representation in public and political institutions. Religious identity continues to be one of the most significant predators of violence. The Niger Delta areas are under fire emanating inter-ethnic conflicts, and there is indeed no greater challenge facing the government of Niger than finding ways of means to resolve them. The country faces several challenges, and these include Boko Haram insurgency in the Lake Chad Basin and the Sahel insurgency led by ISDS in northern Tillaberi. The country Niger is currently experiencing high levels of armed groups, violence, and intercommunal war. Armed groups in Niger have capitalized on existing communal clashes to unleashing repressive attacks against the civilian population. Moreover, poverty, political despotism, corruption, and foreign interference have turned the dreams of an economically integrated and politically united West Africa into a living nightmare for most of its citizens. Countries in the West African Sahel, especially Niger, must begin to tailor comprehensive and unique solutions to the multiple threats of conflicts. The Republic of Niger believes that each individual should have its freedom to live, to practice religion of their interest. Thank you.
Are there any motions on the floor? Delegate of South Africa, you have been recognized.
Thank you, Chair. The Delegate of South Africa would like to raise a motion for a moderated caucus on the topic discussing ways to help West African states which has undergone ethnic conflicts like supplies and psychological treatment.
Delegate, the time period, please.
10 minutes, total time being of 10 minutes and 1 minute per speaker.
Okay, Delegate of Tunisia.
I was going to propose the same thing because I was the one who gave the topic.
Delegates, you should talk amongst yourself and decide on who's going to bring up the topic again. I'm sorry, that's not our discretion. We will disregard the topic for now. Delegate of Saudi Arabia.
Sorry, Chair. I did not, the delegate did not mean to raise hand.
Okay, are there any other delegates wishing to? Okay, Delegate of Germany, you've been recognized.
The Delegate of Germany would like to propose a moderated caucus for a time duration of 20 minutes, allotting 60 seconds per speaker on the topic of discussing measures going to be taken against Boko Haram in Nigeria.
Yeah, Delegate of Egypt.
Sorry, Sharon raised my hand. I think I raised it earlier, but that was a mistake.
Okay, thank you, Delegate of Congo.
Yes, sir.
Congo, you have your hands raised. Delegate, you're muted.
Chair, is it for that voting or?
Delegate, this is not voting yet. We are just taking the topic for now, and we'll move into voting later on.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, Chair.
Okay, Delegate of Russia, your topic, please.
The delegate of the Russian Federation proposes a moderator caucus of a total duration of 20 minutes with an individual speaker's time of 60 seconds to discuss on the topic measures to eradicate impunity and minoritarianism in the regions of conflict in Western African states.
Point of personal privilege. Could the delegate of the Russian Federation please repeat that more clearly?
Delegate, please post the topic in chat.
Delegate of Angola, you've been recognized.
The delegate of Angola would like to propose a moderated caucus on the topic discussions to combat small arms and light weapons proliferation for a total time duration of 15 minutes with a minute per speaker.
Okay, under the chair's discretion, we'll be voting on the motion brought up by Delegate of Germany. Everyone delegates wishing to vote for the motion, please raise your hand.
Point of personal privilege.
Yes, delegate.
Could the delegate of Germany please repeat the motion?
Delegate of Germany has posted the question in the chat. Please check it.
Discussing measures to be taken against Boko Haram in Nigeria.
Are there any more delegates wishing to vote for the motion?
Chair, is it about the Arms Act, like LA's the
No, delegate. We are voting on Germany's topic right now. Please check the chat. That is a topic that we are that's being discussed right now.
Germany?
Did you get the topic, Delegate of Ivory Coast? Delegate of Ivory Coast, did you get the topic?
What is it?
Did you get the topic?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All those delegates wishing to vote against the motion, please raise your hands.
Excuse me, but for which motion?
Who am I speaking to?
The delegate of Tunisia. But is it the motion proposed by the delegate of Germany or the delegate of Russian Federation?
This is the motion brought up by Delegate of Germany.
Okay.
Okay. If the delegates wishing to vote against the motion, please raise your hand. Delegates, everyone has to vote for a motion. You can't abstain from voting. So please, I see a lot of delegates who are not actually voting on these motions.
Chair, excuse me, what are we voting for now?
Delegate, we are voting on the motion proposed by Delegate of Germany. Please check the chat.
Are we voting for or against the motion right now?
We are voting against right now.
Okay.
Okay, the motion fails. Now we move on to the motion brought up by Delegate of Russia. Delegates wishing to vote for the motion, please raise your hand. A gentle reminder, we do need at least half majority to pass a motion. So every delegate has to vote. Okay, delegates wishing to vote against the motion, please raise your hand.
Chair, there was a motion brought up by the delegate of South Africa.
Yes, delegate, we are aware of it.
Delegates, there are still delegates who aren't participating in the voting procedure. Please make sure you're part of it.
Okay, the motion passes. Now we're going into an SSL. The delegate of Russia, could you please post the topic into the chat, please?
Chair, I did post it in the chat earlier.
Okay, thank you. Delegate of Russia, would you like to speak first or last?
I would like to go first.
Okay, thank you, delegate. Other delegates wishing to add their names to the SSL, please raise your hand.
Sorry, Chair, could you repeat it?
Delegates wishing to add their names to the SSL, please raise your hand. Delegate of Germany, you have been recognized. Delegate of Tunisia. Delegate of Ghana. Delegate of Egypt. Delegate of Congo. Delegate of Japan. Delegate of South Africa. Delegate of Nigeria. Delegate of Ivory Coast. Are there any more delegates wishing to speak? Delegate of Uganda, you have not spoken yet.
Yes, Chair.
Delegate of Uganda, you haven't spoken yet. Would you consider adding your name to the SSL?
Not yet, Chair.
Not yet. The topic covers Western African states. I suggest you add your name to the SSL. Delegate of Uganda. Okay, then. Okay, then we move on to the SSL. Russia, now you have the floor for 1 minute.
Thank you, Chair. Human rights organizations have expressed concerns that the focus on ethnic cleansing in West African states such as Mali and Nigeria will allow perpetrators of crimes such as destruction of property, rape, and murder to go unpunished. The Russian Federation urges Amnesty International and the African Union Commission, along with the governments of these deeply affected states, to establish a hybrid code so that all crimes are appropriately prosecuted. Hybrid codes usually apply a mix of national and international law, both procedural and substantial, and feature a blend of international and national elements, in particular international and national judges and staff. The benefits of hybrid tribunals are vast, and most specifically for the rights of victims. The crime is not distant from where it occurred, and justice remains within the jurisdiction of the state. In addition, the decisions are more likely to be respected and upheld if they are made within the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Next, we have the Delegate of Germany.
Thank you. Justice and reconciliation are antidotes to impunity, the condition where powerful individuals and institutions act as they desire without fear of reprisals. The Regional Conference on Impunity, Justice and Human Rights in West Africa adopted a declaration and regional strategic framework to promote justice, human rights, and the fight against impunity. The declaration pleads for greater harmonization of legal agreements and collaboration at the sub-regional, regional, and international levels. Eradicating impunity for human rights abuses against defenders remain a challenge for all countries in the world. These additional barriers range from lack of political will and lack of state recognition as defenders to negligent practice, limited resources, and capacities of investigative bodies. Thank you.
Delegate, you have 15 seconds left. How would you like to yield your time?
I would like to yield to comments.
Are there any comments on the floor, delegates? Delegate of Nigeria, you have been recognized.
I actually had no comment. That was a mistake on my part. I'm very sorry. The delegate apologizes for accidentally using the raise hand feature.
Delegate of Russia, you have been recognized.
Thank you, Chair. The delegate of the Russian Federation does agree with the delegate of Germany, as it does have substantial reasoning, and I do see a good future in Western African states. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we have the delegate of Tunisia.
Thank you for the recognition. Justice and reconciliations are antidotes to impunity. Impunity is usually seen where there is a deficit of democratic structures of accountability, fairness, and impartiality. Africa has witnessed efforts to incorporate justice, reconciliations, and other such ideals. Excuse me? I'm sorry, but somebody spoke in between. So should I continue or?
Yes, continue, delegate.
Okay. So, yeah, Africa has witnessed efforts to incorporate justice, reconciliations, and other such ideals into national, regional, and continental structures. But there's a need for more efforts to domesticate, monitor, and implement these structures. Tunisia suggests that the African Union introduce a new and improved framework policy for justice that does not discriminate against gender, ethnicity, religion, caste, or race, and also provides equal modes and supplies for the people regardless of their status, whether they are of the minority or the majority group. They can also strengthen the rule of law, which states that no man is above law, and also that every person is subject to the jurisdiction of ordinary courts of law, irrespective of their position or rank. This law can be,
You're exceeding your time limit.
Yes, I'll stop by mentioning one more point, that the common people should also be made aware of their rights so that they are not wrong, and that the government can initiate steps like free seminars to common people to make them aware of their basic rights and duties. Thank you.
Next, we have the delegate of Ghana.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition. The delegate of the Republic of Ghana would like to suggest the employment of special troops trained at curbing ethnic or religious conflicts at areas of high risk. And also, we would like to suggest holding peaceful discussions in small scales and the education of the holding of educational conferences on how to maintain intercommunal peace and educate the locals about the needs to do so as well. Thank you.
Delegate, you have 25 seconds left. How would you like to yield your time?
I would like to yield it to comments.
Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
The delegate of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia agrees with the delegate of the Republic of Ghana.
All right. The delegate of the Russian Federation, you have been recognized.
Thank you, Chair. The delegate of the Russian Federation does agree with the delegate, except for the part about educating the ethnic groups, as not even children in many regions of Africa are fully educated, while getting adults educated will be a much more tedious task. So that will require a whole another discussion. So thank you.
All right, Delegate of Japan.
The Delegate of Japan agrees with the motive and the need and the statement given by the Delegate of the Republic of Ghana, but as a delegate of the Russian Federation stated, the Delegate of Japan does not agree with the education conferences because the delegate is still not sure on who will be attending the conferences, and even if they do, how will it directly impact those ethnic communities who feel they're higher than others and carry out these ethnic and racial cleansings.
Thank you, delegates. We will now be moving on to the next speaker. The Delegate of Egypt, the floor is yours.
Thank you for the recognition. So the first method is proper representation of ethnic groups. Most of the ethnic groups are not properly represented and recognized, hence they cannot voice out their problems and opinions on things, which means that some ethnic groups are richer than the others, leading to ethnic competition over land and other resources, solely because they haven't got any other choice to survive. This eventually leads to rivalry, and this ends up as a conflict. In order to recognize each and every ethnicity and religion, the government support is integral, and the government itself must not be partial and must give opportunities and recognition equally. Only if the people are given the voice can they justify their actions and create peace in a peaceful manner, rather than directly going on for a full-on conflict, which displaces many and takes the life of many people and citizens. The government must also ensure safety and support for the people who often face the discrimination and are often the victims of violence, etc. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of Congo, the floor is now yours.
Thank you for the recognition. Honorable Chair and fellow delegates, Republic of Congo thinks if the areas affected by ethnic conflicts adopt criminal law provisions to effectively punish those who committed crime, we could eradicate impunity, and also fast court hearings and procedures would be beneficial for the same. And we must recruit authorized media workers in conflict affected regions to get proper and correct news in the regions. And to end minoritization, UN shall direct its member countries most affected by such ethnic cleansing conflicts to ensure that communities, both majority and minority, have a proportionate representation in the administration as well as the government, and this shall be based on validated and reliable data. Thank you, delegates.
Thank you, Delegate.
Delegate of Japan, why you raise your hand? Delegate of Japan.
Thank you for the recognition, Chair. So the Delegate of Japan feels that the citizens.
I'm sorry, Delegate. What are you raising?
Nothing. Oh, sorry, Chair. My hand was raised by mistake. Apologies.
Delegate of Japan, you are the next speaker, so you may go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for the recognition. So Delegate of Japan feels that the citizens who face the minoritarianism are the citizens of the population that have much less than the major population present in the country. So due to this, they do not face the needed recognition which they need to have. So for this, the Delegate of Japan feels that these situations of impunity and minoritarianism must be handled in a judicial manner. The country's judicial, the court and the Supreme Court must take actions on this and have a legal case. Because if the citizens who do not have enough representation, they cannot fight for their rights. And if the situation is too big, and if the situation is amongst different countries of impunity and minoritarianism, this can also be passed on to a much larger court and be taken part of the and the case can be taken by the judicial organ of the United Nations, which is the International Court of Justice, or the ICJ. ICJ. Thank you.
Delegate, you have 10 seconds left. How would you like to yield your time?
I would like to yield my time to comments.
Are there any comments on the floor? Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
The delegate of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia does agree with the delegate of Japan. However, the major cause of the ethnic cleansing itself roots from the the governments not abiding by the rules. So the delegate would like to would suggest that you could the delegate of Japan could make the points clearer.
Delegate of Japan, you're not recognized. It's simply a comment. You're not allowed to reply, delegate.
Delegate of Ghana, you may speak.
The delegate of Republic of Ghana agrees with the delegate of Japan, but is not sure if the set point of judicial use can be implemented on a large scale.
Delegates, we will be moving on to the next speaker.
Actually, I do have a point of personal privilege.
Yes, delegate.
Yes, Chair, I'm facing a bit of internet issues, so may I keep my video off?
Yes, delegate, no problem.
Thank you, Chair.
The delegate of South Africa, it is your turn to speak.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition. State parties undertake to prohibit and to eliminate racial discrimination in all its forms, according to the 1965 International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination, notably in the enjoyment of political, civil, economic, social, and cultural rights. State parties shall also assure effective protection and remedies against any acts of racial discrimination. Both the preamble of the Charter of the United Nations and the 1948 Universal Declaration of Human Rights proclaim that the right of everyone to enjoy all human rights and fundamental freedoms without distinction to race, color, or national origin. The UN system and its specialized agencies, through various conventions and declarations, prohibited discrimination of information, specially addressing the issues and proposing solutions to the problem. However, despite these efforts, many individuals and groups belonging to the minority continue with great experience with various forms of discrimination, especially in the countries with a dominant majority or history of colonization. As
Delegate,
we
you're
prepare,
exceeding your time.
thank you, sir.
Delegate of Nigeria, the floor is now yours.
Thanks for the recognition, Honorable Chair. The delegate of Nigeria wishes to propose a reservation system that can be followed in the governments of West African states. This reservation system functions very much like the reservation system currently found in India, where different ethnicities get reserved seats in government positions, in parliament, and in other posts. And not just in the government sector, private sectors can be made to accept job requests from people of all ethnicities proportional to their population. This system in India, it has worked well, and the amount of the caste discrimination in India has reduced. So in the same way, ethnic discrimination in Nigeria and other West African nations will also reduce with this proposed idea of reservations in government and private posts, bringing equal opportunity to all ethnicities regardless of their initial starting initial wealth. So the delegate of Nigeria wishes to conclude their speech.
All right, delegate. Next, the delegate of the Ivory Coast.
Thank you, Jay, for the recognition. The primary aim should be to educate the masses in the field of history, economics, sociology, geography, and internal relations, as they directly relate to the human condition of an area. Ethnic minority problems date back to the colonization period, during which a specific elite ethnic group enjoyed a privileged status. In the case of the Republic of Ivory Coast, the Southerners were privileged by the French colonists as they embraced Catholicism, creating a Muslim minority in the north. It can be corrected by having equal and adequate representation of all the minorities in the government as well as the private sector, unlike the colonial period. Local or central organizations should be made with members of each ethnic group so as to talk it out about possible conflicts. Also, allocation of these fair and just representatives must be done without malpractices. There has come to a halt to the generalization of ethnic groups, as the fear of victimization is one of the main causes of the creation of an us versus them mentality. Although a non-practical way at first notice, sharing power can help reduce the minority issue. Another minority issue can be about the gender minority other than the ethnicity. The Ivory Coast has implemented action plans following the gender analysis in 2017.
You have exceeded your time limit. Please wrap up your speech.
To correct gender gaps and mainstream gender equality among each program. Thank you.
Thank you, delegates. Now we'll be moving back into GSL. Countries wishing to speak in the GSL, please raise your hands. Delegate of Egypt, you have been recognized. Delegate of Tunisia, Delegate of South Africa, Delegate of Congo. Delegate of Switzerland, you've already been recognized. Then Delegate of Russia. Thank you, delegates. Delegate of Switzerland, the floor is now yours.
Thank you, Chair. African countries today face greater challenges to peace and stability than ever before. The conflicts in these countries are mostly between ethnic groups and not between states. And if not checked, these ethnic conflicts can be contagious and can spread quickly across borders like cancer cells. Change is long overdue. Hence the question, how can we effectively manage ethnic conflict in Africa to avoid further human losses? The Swiss example shows that it is possible for language groups and religious groups to grow together into one nation without destroying the individual culture of any. Switzerland has always respected the principles of equality and non-discrimination and will continue to do so. Switzerland strongly believes that an innate will among the various groups to cooperate, cohabitate, and participate in nation building is the best approach to tackle ethnic conflicts. Thank you.
Delegate, you have 13 seconds left in your left. How would you like to yield your time?
I would like to yield it to comments.
Are there any comments on the floor?
Delegate of South Africa, do you have a comment?
No, Chair.
I'm sorry, delegate.
It was raised. I raised by mistake. Sorry.
All right. Delegate of Congo.
Thank you for considering, Chair. The delegate of Republic of Congo agrees with the Swiss Confederation. Thank you.
All right, delegates. Next, we have the delegate of Egypt.
Thank you for the recognition. I would like to continue with the small arm proliferation. Small arm and light weapons are equipments which citizens can get easily hold of and use for conflicts, which means that more the use of such weapons, the more people are going to get killed. Hence, with the help of peacekeeping forces that must be deployed as believed by the Arab Republic of Egypt, we need to conduct investigations and pinpoint where exactly the supplies of such weapons are coming from. By pinpointing the location, the supplies can be cut off because when the people use weapons, the number of casualties and injuries would increase tremendously, meaning more deaths and more burden on medical assist, and supplies could even run out. Hence, the Delegate of Arab Republic of Egypt believes that weapon supplies must be cut short so that people don't get massacred and brutally killed during conflicts.
Delegate, you have 15 seconds left. How would you like to use your time?
I will yield it for comments.
Delegate of Tunisia, you have been recognized.
Thank you for the recognition. I agree with the stand taken by the delegate of Egypt, but I would like to know exactly how you
Delegates, please remember not to use personal pronouns.
Sorry, but the delegate of Tunisia wants to know how exactly the delegate of Egypt proposes to pinpoint the location where the small arm comes from.
Delegate, the floor is open for comments. So if you want to ask a question, you may use the chat.
Okay.
Delegate of Egypt, you may reply via chat as well. Delegate of Congo, the floor is yours. Delegate of Congo.
Thank you, Chair.
I'm sorry. Delegate of Ghana.
Chair, I had the same question. I will ask. Yeah.
Delegate of Tunisia.
Thank you for the recognition. Is this for the earlier, or is this for the new?
Delegate.
Oh, I finished giving my comments. I forgot to lower my hand. Sorry.
Oh, well, anyway, we'll move on. And Delegate of Tunisia, you are the next speaker, so you may continue.
Thank you for the recognition. I would like to discuss the building of a government which prioritizes its citizens, because a fundamental and strong government is required for every state or country to prevent wars and conflicts. The government should be strong as well as peaceful to ensure this. Some of the major complaints of the population is about its government, which can be very ruthless and corrupted, or is very peaceful and weak to take any active measures. Also, many political corruptions are noticed in most of the governments. We need to take it into utmost importance to introduce a strong policy which makes sure that the government prioritizes its citizens. Tunisia suggests some points that can be taken up. 1. To prevent corruption, officials can be placed who checks the work and background of the allotted government officials and can submit a report on them. Those who doesn't seem to have a good background or has committed something corrupt can be punished and removed from the government. To make sure that the government official does something for the citizens, they can be made to submit a report with proof of what all they have did for the people. We can also add that a minimum of 5 public services should be conducted every 3 months by each official, no matter their status. Thank you.
All right, thank you, delegates. Since it's 3:30, we'll now have a small break. Delegates can return by 3:45. We're now on break. Thank you, delegates.
Thank you. Honorable Chair, point of parliamentary inquiry, do we leave the Zoom link or do we?
You can stay. You may stay in the meeting, delegate. You're not required to leave.
Thank you.
Honorable Chair.
Yes, delegate.
Till when is the break?
3:45, delegate.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, delegate.
To the delegate.
I'm sorry, delegate.
Is the floor open to points of information?
Delegate, you may ask a question via the chat. Please send it via the EB as well, though, so that you may see it. Delegate of China.
May I also send it to?
Sure, delegate.
Yeah. Okay.
Delegates will continue with the Gsl South Africa. Delegate of South Africa, your floor is now yours.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition. In South Africa, it is made impossible for the indigenous Africans to enjoy the fruits of modernization. The white rulers, who saw them as only a thorn in their flesh, constantly discriminated against the Zulus. Sohas, and other black ethnic groups. The period between 1910 and 1947 exposed how economic racism consolidated the structures of white domination and black exploitation. This was done through racist legislation against the black majority. These laws forced Africans to evacuate the major cities and move to remote settlements in an improvisation part of the country. In 1912, African cities rebelled by forming the African National Congress (ANC), which was meant to represent and defend black African rights. The black South Africans were deprived of their rights to own land, though the enhancement of the 1913 Black Land Act. This legislation prevented blacks from producing food for themselves and from making money through agriculture. The government also regulated the job market, reserving skilled work for the whites alone and
Delegate,
denying.
you are exceeding your time. Please wrap up your speech.
Okay, Chair. Thank you.
We shall be moving on to the next speaker, the Delegate of Congo.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition. Honorable Chair and fellow delegates, the Republic of Congo is happy to suggest some methods through which the UN could stop Boko Haram, an Islamic militant group in Nigeria, and partnership peacekeeping program of the UN must be encouraged in Nigeria, which involves partnerships between UN and regional organizations in conflict-affected regions. And UN could take initiative to organize a peace agreement or a ceasefire agreement between the rebel groups and the government, and make a clear and achievable political goal and reflect it in the mandate. The UN could also initiate the process of disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration so as to especially save members of the Kanuri ethnic group who are the present target of Boko Haram. Thank you, delegates.
Delegate, you have 5 seconds left. How would you like to yield your time?
I would like to yield to commence.
Delegate of Germany, you have been recognized.
Pardon?
Delegate of Germany, you have been recognized.
Thank you, Chair. The Boko Haram is a known and
Excuse me,
listed.
Delegate. Is this a comment?
I suppose so, because the Boko Haram is listed a known terrorist group and has been listed as the most dangerous in 2014. So would striking up a peace treaty with them be wise?
Delegate, it's a comment, not a question.
Oh, point.
Sorry, denied. Delegate of Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Thanks for the recognition. The Delegate of Nigeria recognizes the stance presented, and since Boko Haram has already killed more than 20,000 innocents, displacing more than 2.1 million people, and resulting in more than 7 million people requiring humanitarian aid. This idea, the ideas highlighted. Yes, I'm just signifying my acceptance to these, because, yeah, it has already gotten this bad.
Comment short.
Okay, since we've already gotten this much damage due to Boko Haram and other extremist groups, this idea will be well appreciated in preventing even more damage.
Okay.
Okay, that's the delegates. We won't be encouraging any more comments. Are there any other delegates wishing to add their names to the GSL?
Chair, point of parliamentary inquiry.
Recognized.
I was under an assumption that my name was included in the GSL earlier.
Yes, delegates, you have been included. We are just asking for others for other delegates.
Noted, Chair. Yeah.
Okay, Delegate of Spain, you've been recognized. Delegate of Saudi Arabia. Delegate of Ivory Coast. Are there any other delegates? Okay, are there any motions on the floor? Okay, Delegate of India, you've been recognized. Delegates, are there any motions on the floor? Okay, Delegate of Saudi Arabia. You may now speak.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition. The Delegate of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia proposes to suspend formal debate.
Excuse me, Delegate, could you speak a bit louder?
Yes, Chair. The Delegate of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia proposes to suspend formal debate and move into a moderated caucus of a total of 15 minutes with an individual speaker's time of 60 seconds to discuss about providing basic amenities for the social promotion of ethnic minorities.
Okay, thank you, Delegate. Delegate of South Africa.
The delegate would like to move into a moderated caucus with the time being 10 minutes with each speaker of 1 minute on the topic major causes of the ethnic conflict.
Okay, Delegate of Tunisia.
The Delegate of Tunisia the Delegate of Tunisia proposes to suspend formal debate and move into a moderated caucus of a total of 20 minutes with an individual speaker's time of 60 seconds to discuss the ways to help West African states that underwent ethnic conflict in terms of supplies and other psychological treatment.
Delegate, could you please post the topic in the chat, please? Okay, Delegate of Angola, you have been recognized.
Thank you, Chair. The Delegate of Angola proposes to have a moderated caucus on the topic, discussions on combating small arms and light weapons proliferation for a total duration of 15 minutes with an individual speaking time of 60 seconds.
By the chair's discretion, we will be voting on Tunisia's motion first. All delegates wishing to vote for the motion, please use the raise hand feature.
Yes,
Yes, Delegate.
The Delegate of Indonesia repeat the
I have sent it in the chat to everyone.
Okay, delegates, if you want to vote for right now, please do.
A point of information, could the Delegate of Tunisia kindly state on how that topic is different from the topic of Delegate of South Africa?
Delegate, you have not been recognized yet.
I'm sorry, sir.
Can I reply?
No, delegate.
Okay.
Kelly is voting against the motion. Delegates present, please vote.
Every delegate present in the committee has to vote for a motion, either yes or no. But the delegates have to vote. It's not an option.
Chair, excuse me, Chair.
Yes, delegate.
I face some network issues. Which topic are we right now?
Okay, delegate. If you check the chat, you can see the motion proposed by the Republic of Tunisia. That is the one that we are voting on right now.
Are we voting for or against it right now?
Right now, it's against.
The motion clearly fails. Delegate of China, you have been recognized. Delegate of China.
I'm sorry, I forgot to put my hand down.
Thank you. All right.
Okay, next we'll be voting on the motion brought up by Delegate of Saudi Arabia. Delegates wishing to vote for the motion, please use your raise hand feature.
Points of personal privilege.
Yes, delegate.
For the delegate of Saudi Arabia, please repeat the motion.
I believe the delegate of Saudi Arabia already posted the. Okay, the delegate of Saudi Arabia, could you please post the question again? Not, excuse me, not the question, not the topic again. Okay, delegates, we are voting for the motion right now. If you are voting for the motion, please do it now. You cannot abstain from voting for motions. You have to vote. So please do.
Chair, could the delegate of South Africa please repeat the topic?
It is the major causes for the ethnic conflict.
Delegate, could you please post it in the chat?
Sure.
Okay, thank you, delegates. Delegates wishing to vote against the motion, please raise your hand. Okay, the motion passes. Delegates wishing to add their names to the SSL, please raise your hand.
Sir, can you repeat?
The delegates wishing to add their names to the SSL, please raise your hand. Okay, Delegate of Nigeria, you have been recognized. Delegate of South Africa. Delegate of Russia. Delegate of Germany. Delegate of Japan. Delegate of Spain. Delegate of Angola.
Excuse me, Chair, have you been recording this meeting?
Yes, Delegate. Delegate of Ivory Coast. Delegate of Egypt, you have been recognized. Delegate of Congo. Delegate of Niger, you have been recognized. Are there any more delegates wishing to speak? Okay, Delegate of Ghana, you've been recognized.
Yeah, raise my hand.
Okay, Delegate of Swiss Confederation. Delegate of Saudi, would you like to go first or last?
The delegate would like to go first.
Okay, Delegate, thank you. Okay, are there any more delegates wishing to add their names to the SSL? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Delegate of Saudi Arabia, now you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition. As seen from the Tigray crisis, it is clear that the Ethiopian government has ceased to help the Tigrayans from being exploited. Almost over 3.6 million children were malnourished during the crisis, and UN had to interfere and provide 0.9 million people with clean water and 0.7 million people with clean food. The Ethiopian government, seeing the rising rage among the Tigrayans, had closed the bank accounts and restricted overseas travel of Tigrayans. From this we can understand that it is necessary to help the ethnic minorities for gaining popularity among the citizens of a state. Thank you.
Delegate, you have 10 seconds left. How would you like to yield your time?
The delegate would like to yield it back to the chair.
Are there any points on the floor? Delegate of Russia, you have been recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Delegate of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. If I'm not mistaken, the delegate of South Africa mentioned that the agenda is, the Mod Caucus major causes of ethnic conflict, but you have stated the solution. So I don't think your speech will be valid since it's not correlating to the main topic.
Delegate, is there a comment or a question?
It's a comment, Chair.
Okay. Delegate of Japan, you been recognized.
Point of parliamentary inquiry. Could you kindly just clarify the topic that we must be speaking on? Because there's a confusion here.
Delegate of Japan, please check the chat.
No, Chair, there are many topics in the chat. So what topic are we discussing currently?
The one sent by Delegate of Saudi Arabia, providing basic amenities for the social promotion of ethnic minorities.
Thank you, Chair.
Delegate of Saudi Arabia.
Actually, the delegate wanted to clarify that the delegate to the Delegate of Russian Federation.
Sorry, denied. Okay, next speaker. One second. Delegate of Congo.
Chair, could you please clarify? Is it a topic of Saudi Arabia or South Africa?
No, the delegate of Saudi Arabia brought up the topic of providing basic amenities. That is the motion that we voted on and it passed, and we are in the SSL right now. That was proposed by Saudi Arabia.
Thank you.
It's a parliamentary inquiry. I clearly remember that we were voting upon South Africa's topic and it passed.
The delegate of Spain also.
Yes, Chair, I agree with the delegate of Egypt also agree.
Delegate of Congo also.
The delegate of Nigeria also agrees with the delegate of Russia.
Okay, delegates, and a mistake. Sincere apologies. We'll do one thing. We'll move into voting process on the South Africa's motion again.
It already passed, didn't it?
Delegate, this is just for formatting. Yeah.
Okay.
All delegates wishing to vote for the motion, please raise your hand.
The motion clearly passes.
Okay, delegate of South Africa, would you guys like go first or last?
Last.
Okay, delegates wishing to add their names to the SSL, please raise your hand. Okay, delegate of Japan, you've been recognized. Delegate of Tunisia. Delegate of Egypt. Delegate of Russia. Delegate of Spain. Delegate of Ivory Coast. Delegate of Germany. Delegate of Congo. Delegate of Swiss Confederation. Delegate of Saudi Arabia. Delegate of India. Delegate of Angola. Are there any more delegates wishing to add their names to the SSL? Okay, seeing none, we move on to the committee. Delegate of Japan, the floor is now yours.
Thank you for the recognition, Chair. So there are many groups and there are many categories in which are the main cause of ethnic conflict. The categories include structural factors, political factors, economic and social factors, and cultural and perceptual factors. Now, political factors include, like when this political party and there's a difference in opinion, it can lead to discrimination and therefore ethnic and racial cleansings. At the same time, one of the main reasons why these ethnic and racial cleansings and occur is due to the competition of resources, mainly power, money, and land. When different ethnic groups go against each other for the competition of same goal, the ones with the higher ground will have a better. The ones with the higher ground can carry out ethnic and racial cleansings, which leads to discrimination law. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Delegate. You have 5 seconds. How would you like to use your time? Delegate of Japan. All right, we'll be moving on to the next speaker. Delegate of Tunisia, the floor is now yours.
Thank you for recognition. Many African states are of the view that minority problem is essentially European and are reluctant to admit that Africa is not immune to ethnic concerns. At the same time, many indigenous minorities, ethnic groups, communities, people, and ethnic minorities living in Africa are suffering from the lack of attention certain African states give to their rights and therefore their concerns. The African countries, mostly of the sub-Saharan region, is a volatile mix of insecurity, instability, and corruption. Alarmingly, most of these countries lack the political will to maintain the previous peace agreements and have thus fallen prey to continuous armed ethnic conflicts. Tunisia feels that this is partly due to ineffective conflict management. And some of the noticed conflict patterns are that the demand for ethnic and cultural autonomy, competing demands for land, money, power, conflicts taken between rival ethnic groups, economic factors such as competition for scarce resources. And another major cause of ethnic conflict is psychology, especially the fear and insecurity of ethnic groups during transition. It has been noticed that extremists build upon these fears to polarize the society. Additionally, memories of the past traumas magnify these anxieties.
You are exceeding your time, please.
Yes. So all these points contribute the cause of a conflict, and if we can remove or make laws to remove these patterns, we'll be able to stop these conflicts. Yeah.
Thank you, Delegate. Next, we have the Delegate of Egypt.
Thank you for the recognition. So firstly, it's the competition over resources and land. So major ethnic groups are getting more resources over minor ethnic groups, which means that some groups are facing poverty and lack of resources. So they themselves have not got another option but to fight for the resources. Otherwise, they will face certain death because this leads to ethnic competition over land and other resources. And this leads to rivalry, and this finally ends up as conflict. Now, most of the ethnic groups are not properly represented and recognized, hence they cannot voice out their opinions and problems to the government. So some problems faced by such communities are not resolved, and this is majorly due to the government preferring one ethnicity over another due to religion, color, gender, or race, etc. Egypt feels that conflicts are due to instability, competition for resources and money and power, and the corruption of government to prefer one ethnicity over the other. And it could also be due to the fear of being converted into another ethnicity.
Exceeding your time, please wrap up your speech.
Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Next, we have the Delegate of Russia.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition. There are multiple reasons as to why ethnic cleansing acts are prevalent, and a few cases are poor economic performance. A more basic and long-term cause of conflict has been the catastrophic economic performance of many African countries, coupled with the debt problem. Another reason is the political or domestic abuse. Power struggles, hostile groups, overpopulation, economic or religious disparities, oppression, and demand for democracy, communal or ethnic violence related to economic, social, religious, cultural, or ethnic issue is another cause for ethnic cleansing. Political and international relations is another factor. These take the form of ideological or political campaigns, territorial claims, and religious expansionism. Military is also another stated fact. Interstate aggression, annexation, intervention, or hostility, for example, support for the rebels of other states or separatist movement. And ethnicity is yet again another factor that we all know. A major cause of African conflicts have been ethnicity and has been continued to be so. The creation of independence was accompanied by urgent calls for nation building by the new African leaders who were well aware of the difficulty in transcending Africa ethnic and regional loyalties. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Next, we have the Delegate of Spain.
Thank you for the recognition.
Once again, Delegate, Republic of Ghana.
A point of parliamentary inquiry. Are we allowed to, are the delegates allowed to ask each other questions about statements made earlier?
No, sorry. If you want, if it's a point of inquiry, excuse me, sorry, point of information, you may send it through EB.
Thank you, Chair.
May I continue?
Delegate of Spain, you may continue.
Thank you so much. Honorable Chair, ethnic conflict is one of the major
threats to international peace and security. There are many causes to ethnic conflict. The Kingdom of Spain believes that the causes may be over resources, over belief and religion, over land, or over cultural differences. Ethnic conflict is particularly likely in states where ethnic groups lack sufficient representation in public and political institutions. Economic problems such as slowdowns, stagnation, deterioration, and complete collapse are sources of destabilization and can lead to increased tensions and competition among ethnic groups. Cultural factors such as the problematic group histories, stereotypical perceptions, and grievances over cultural discrimination are also causes to ethnic conflict. Availability of small arms and weapons via illegal means also contributes. Spain suggests some possible solutions to these causes. 1. Greater participation in the security sector, reform projects, training, and capacity building. Support strengthening of the African peace and architecture. Promote the role of regional and sub-regional African organizations.
Delegate, you are exceeding your time limit. Please wrap up your speech.
Organizations in conflict prevention. Ensure that the supply of small arms and light weapons was limited only to governments or entities duly authorized by them, and to support the efforts of the G5 Sahel to stabilize the region. Thank you, Chair.
Delegate of Ivory Coast, you may now speak.
Thank you for the recognition, Chair. The Delegate of Ivory Coast would like to put forward 3 theories. The first one is primordialism. As human beings, we tend to favor kin over non-kin, and ethnic groups can be perceived as extended kin groups. The psychological factor that leads to individuals to develop a closer bond to those who are similar in characteristic, like family, also creates mistrust towards others that are not. The second theory is constructivism. According to constructivist theory, the ethnic identities are socially constructed. They are formed through colonization, immigration, etc., and they are the product of historical processes. As ethnicity of chiefly lines were fluid and not strictly defined. The last theory is the instrumentalism theory. For some other historians, identities like ethnicity are not a principal cause of ethnic conflicts. The instrumentalist theory argues that it is rational for political parties to politicize along ethnic lines, depending on the benefit it brings to them. That is, to win the voters' trust by being in a particular religion or ethnicity as a medium. So the Delegate of Ivory Coast believes that the ethnic conflicts in Ivory Coast as well as Western Africa are a product of complex combination of instrumentalist and constructivist theories. Thank you.
Delegate of Switzerland Confederation.
Chair, please clarify the time per speaker in the SSL.
It's 1 minute, Delegate.
Thank you, Chair.
Delegate of Germany, you may now speak.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition. There are several causes to ethnic conflict. One, and the most prominent, is the ever-increasing level of poverty typified in joblessness, deteriorating infrastructures, etc. All these clashes are due to the fundamental crisis of underdevelopment. There's a widespread poverty, and this gives rise to a scramble for limited resources. Most of these communities are no better than slums. Industries are shutting down with the attendant consequences of job losses. Most families find it difficult to feed themselves. There is no portable water, no good roads, no proper medical facilities, social infrastructures, and no good schools as well. Environments such as these generate fear, distrust, hatred, frustrations, anger, etc. Under such circumstances, it is easy to believe that if the other ethnic groups go away, there will be enough. Ethnic conflicts in Africa in general arise as a result of scarcity of political resources, multiculturalism, religion, militarization of ethnicity, among others. The ruling class also
Delegate,
the exposure.
You are exceeding your time limit, please.
My apologies. Thank you.
Delegate of Congo. Delegate of Republic of Congo.
Yes, Chair.
You may now speak.
Thank you, Chair, for recognition. Honorable Chair and fellow delegates, Republic of the Congo believes that there are four main reasons for ethnic conflicts. The first one being structural features such as growing socio-economic inequalities. The second one being competition over scarce resources such as land. Third one, influence of social, cultural, or political leaders by highlighting the groups to injustice under which subordinate groups labor, or point out one group is posing threat to other group. And the fourth point, subordinate groups having no access to legal channels for advancing their demands, or no educated representation.
You are exceeding your time limit. Please wrap up your speech.
Yes, Chair. And this would be the seat on genocide and forces minority to use physical force as a way of expressing their demands. Thank you, delegates.
Thank you, Delegate. Next, we have the Delegate of Switzerland.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition. There are several factors that result in ethnic conflicts, but ethnic conflict is particularly likely in states where ethnic groups lack sufficient representation in public and political institutions. These include people's need for identity, security, recognition, participation, and autonomy. This theory provides a plausible explanation of ethnic conflicts in Africa, where such needs are not easily met by undemocratic regimes. Economic factors have been identified as an equally major cause of conflict in Africa. Theorists believe that competition for scarce resources is a common factor in almost all ethnic conflicts in Africa. Ethnicity will remain, and the stability of African states is threatened not by ethnicity per se, but the failure of national institutions to recognize and accommodate ethnic differences and interests. Thank you.
Delegate, you have 10 seconds left. How would you like to yield your time?
I would like to yield it for comments.
Republic of the Congo, you can recognize.
I totally agree with the Delegate of Swiss Confederation.
Delegate, please remember not to use personal pronouns.
Yes, Chair.
Please remember not to use personal pronouns.
Sorry, sir. The Delegate of Republic of Congo totally agrees with the Delegate of the Swiss Confederation and thinks such factors could be focused upon as a way to eradicate ethnic conflicts. Thank you.
Delegate of Spain.
The delegate of the Kingdom of Spain also agrees with the topics that the delegate of the Swiss Confederation has discussed and looks forward to working with them to solve these topics and put an end to ethnic conflicts.
All right, delegate. Next, we have the delegate of Saudi Arabia.
I'm sorry, Delegate of Spain, can you repeat that?
The delegate of the Kingdom of Spain agrees with the topics put forward by the delegate to Swiss Confederation and looks forward to working with them in solving these topics and putting an end to ethnic conflict.
All right, next we have the delegate of Saudi Arabia.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition. Africans have often been the victims of racism, but they can also be its perpetrators, said Peter Takirambade, Executive Director of the Africa Division of Human Rights Watch. In Cote d'Ivoire, we see the kind of intolerance and bigotry that the Racism Conference is designed to address. The Ivorian leaders and security forces responsible for these atrocities must be widely condemned and brought to justice. Generally, 8 reasons are behind these ethnic conflicts and cleansing: over-centralization of state institutions, rural exclusion, fractionalism and ethnic politics, the politics of systematic exclusion, chiefdom-level politics, corruption and abuse of power, misuse and neglect of youth. Thank you, Chair.
Delegate, you have 5 seconds left. How would you like to use your time?
Yield back to the Chair.
Are there any comments? Seeing none, we shall move on to the next speaker, Delegate of India. The floor is now yours.
I hope I'm audible.
Yes, Delegate, you're audible.
Thank you for recognition. Most of the states in Western Africa have seen civil wars, and moreover, poverty, political despotism, corruption, and foreign interference have turned the dreams of economically integrated and politically united West Africa into a living nightmare for most of its citizens. Outstandingly brutal and violent was the era of after Cold War. The reasons for these conflicts are resources, psychological needs, ethnicity, politics, poor economic performance, and interstate borders. Various countries are finding different ways to help the Western African nations in different ways. We believe we can find solutions for these conflicts. Thank you.
You have 20 seconds left. How would you like to use your time?
To the next delegate.
All right, then, Delegate of Angola, you have 80 seconds to speak.
So I believe the Republic of Angola believes that there are many reasons which result in ethnic conflicts. The number one reason being bad governance and corruption. So post-colonial rule of West African countries have been fraught with several challenges. Elemental among them are issues of bad governance and corruption. Following independence, several regimes across the sub-region have mismanaged state resources and weakened governance institutions, which have resulted in economic stalemate, political apprehensions, and breakdown of social peace and stability. For instance, in the Sierra Leone War, it was identified that bad governance, corruption, and poverty were the root causes of the conflict. The next reason is the incidence of human rights abuses and violations, which can result as both the consequences or which can also trigger wars. The next reason is the accessibility, the availability, and the affordability of arms and homemade weapons that lead to ethnic wars going out of control. Also, the apprehensive borders created during the colonial rule can result in intermingled settlements, which can be used as incentives for ethnic wars, where separation reduces both the incentives and opportunity for further combat. Also, the lack of trust by the people in government organizations and its quality of action, where the members of the ethnic group take matters into
Delegate,
their
you're exceeding your time. Please
Yeah.
wrap up your speech.
Yes. Where the members of the ethnic group take matters into their own hands without consulting or reporting to the civil bodies which can separate the matters peacefully.
Thank you, Delegate. Now we'll be moving on to the last speaker. Delegate of South Africa, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition. Economic factors have been identified as one of the major causes of conflict in South Africa. Theorists believe that the competition for scarce resources is a common factor in almost all the ethnic conflicts in South Africa. In multi-ethnic societies like South Africa, ethnic communities violently compete for property, right, jobs, education, language, social amenities, and good healthcare facilities. Additionally, attention has also shifted to the nature of ethnic conflict and violence because of the post-Cold War era has been marked by the resurgence of the ethnic conflict and even in some societies like Rwanda, Bosnia, and Zaire. Thank you.
Delegate of South Africa, you have 15 seconds left. How would you like to yield your time?
I would like to yield it to the chair.
Are there any points on the floor? If there are no points, are there any comments on the floor?
Delegate of Russia, you have been recognized.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition. The delegate of the Russian Federation strongly believes in the points that the delegate of the Republic of South Africa had stated. Thank you.
Delegates, we have exhausted the SSL. We won't be moving back to Gsl right now. We will be ending this. We will be adjourning for today soon in 5 minutes actually. So we're going to have to debrief you guys on tomorrow's plan. So tomorrow by this fourth session, delegates will be having a press conference. So the journalists who have been listening closely to all the speeches that you delegates have been presenting, you'll be asked questions. So be prepared for that. And also, I see a lot of blogs being created, and please do see that you guys have some draft resolutions present so that you can present to the committee and vote on it as soon as possible. So we'll be starting a committee by 10 a.m. tomorrow. So if you delegates have any doubts, please contact any of us. We will be answering your questions. So any delegate to adjourn today's meeting? Are there any motions? Okay, Delegate of Russia, you have been recognized.
Thank you, Chair. The delegate of the Russian Federation would like to propose the motion to adjourn formal session.
Delegates wishing to vote for the motion, please raise your hand.
Delegates voting against the motion.
Wait, Chair, I vote for the motion. I couldn't raise my hand.
All right, delegate, no problem.
Okay, Republic of Ghana. Are you voting against the motion? Okay, then the motion passes. The delegates, you may now leave.
Thank you, Chair.
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 Thank you.
Bye, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair.